ghouls, goblins, grannies in horrifying eyeshadow, and ghastly guests. Welcome to the month of Horrotober.
Wait a minute. Listen, everybody's heard this intro for the last 4 weeks. This is the 100th episode, for God's sake. The 100th episode. We should do something explosive.
Yes! It's the 100th episode of the After Movie Diner!
Hello, and thrice more times hello, and welcome to this absolutely splendid, jam-packed Halloween special, 100th episode of the After Movie Diner. And really, it is absolutely so packed to the gunnels with stuff that we've really just got to start, otherwise we'll never fit it all in. However, over the last couple of weeks, as we've been building up to the 100th episode, and stuff on Facebook and Twitter and stuff has been reaching fever pitch, a lot of people have come to me and asked, you know, what do you feel about reaching 100 episodes? You know, it's a grand old age for a podcast, it's a grand old age for anything. And you know, how does that make you feel? And what is it about 100 episodes? And then various other questions like that I initially ignored just for being redundant and pointless. However, I've scratched my chin and I've played with my beard hair and I've thought to myself, what is it about 100 episodes? And sometimes when the mood is right and the music is flowing, you've just got to sing about it. You've just got to sing.
What is this crazy dream world? What is this rarefied air? I've been climbing to the top of a mountain, and I can't believe I'm finally there. Number one, it all felt so daunting. By number 50, we had hit our stride. But now we're up to 100 shows. I can't contain this feeling inside, 'cause this is our 100th show. Well, why do you know we've been at this so long? We've reached the 100. Other younger podcasts just hang their head in shame, because reaching 100 shows is the name of the game. When I think of all the guests we've had on, a tear swells in my eye. When I think of all the movies we've covered, I frantically rub my thigh. When I think of all the songs we've sung, my throat gets tight and sore. But I still say here's to those 100 shows, and here's to 100 more, 'cause this is our 100th show. Why do you know we've been at this so long? We've reached the 100. Other younger podcasts just hang their heads in shame, because reaching 100 shows, that's the name of the game. Just look at what we've achieved, getting cool interviews. And look at how long-winded we've been with all our in-depth reviews. And if we suddenly disappear, well, who would fill our shoes? Only someone with over 100 shows, 'cause you know you gotta pay them dues. This is our 100th show. Why do you know we've been at this so long? We've reached the 100. Other younger podcasts just hang their heads in shame, because reaching 100
shows, that's the name of the game. 'Cause this is our 100th show. Oh, it is our 100th show. Oh, it is our 100th show. Oh, it is our 100th show. Don't you know? This is show 100. Whoa, it is our 100th show. Yeah, it is our 100th show. Oh, well, the band seems to have stopped playing, but anyway, that's how I feel about reaching 100 shows, and truly am looking forward to providing even more podcasting greatness in the future. Now, this show that we've got coming up is, as I said, absolutely packed full of stuff, and first up, we couldn't be happier or more excited to present to you now an interview with a guy. Well, he not only stars in 2 out of the 3 films that we're covering on this special Halloween Maniac Cop Trilogy show today, but also he's been one of the greatest Bond villains of all time. He's in one of the most undisputed action classics of all time, Die Hard. He starred in such 80s family fare as The Goonies. Also action classics like Raw Deal and Action Jackson. Has been seen recently in The Iceman, starring with Michael Shannon. And coming up next year, will be seen on the big screen again in Expendables 3. It's yet another fantastic catch for us here on the Diner, and we couldn't be happier or more proud or more thankful to him to present to you the incomparable Robert Davi.
Well, thank you ever so much for agreeing to be on the show. It's really fantastic for the fans of these films to be able to hear from you. And I just wanted to ask about the Maniac Cop series specifically, and then if we have time, a couple of other things. So first of all, how did you become involved with the Maniac Cop series?
Maniac Cop series. Well, Bill Lustig was in Paris pitching, getting ready to pitch the films. And that week, the Bond film opened there that I did, License to Kill. So I was plastered all over on the European poster. He was looking up as he was walking around, and he saw me there. He knew me. We met each other from New York and stuff. So he now has this meeting to pitch Maniac Cop 2. And he says to the people, he's pitching this, but who's going to be in this film? And he says, well, Robert Davi's going to be the lead cop. Oh, ben, Davi, Davi, oui, pardon, on rend la balle aux gens. And bingo, they got, and then it became. Then Bill Lustig calls me up, and in his inimitable voice, and got in touch with me, and they said, he kind of pitched me on the film, saying, I'm going to do a thing, it's going to be French Connection. Frankenstein meets French Connection. And I thought that was an interesting, concept. I had not done a horror film till then. And, of course, French Connection, that reference point, gave me Popeye Doyle in my head. And, but it was kind of hustled me into it.
Yeah. In a Q&A recently, Bill Lustig said that you enjoyed the character more once they gave it some depth in the script. They gave it a backstory and your partner dying and all that stuff. Was that your influence once you came on board, or did that actually convince you to come on board?
Yeah, I talked to him and of course Larry Cohen, and I said, let's deepen the thing out, because it was initially, all monster and not much, McKinney. And I thought potential for McKinney to be a good cop, to be a good character. So that's what we did. And Phil's a terrific, he had a reputation of being an auteur kind of, doing those kind of independent films that were edgy and cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's one of my favorites of the sort of 80s New York filmmakers, him and Cohen and Henlotter and people like, and obviously Glickenhaus, who was a producer on the first Maniac Cop. He did some great New York films. So I was going to ask, what was it like working for William Lustig, and also that in both films have great supporting casts. I mean, there's just some great people in there, too many to mention. What was it like working with them, and what are some stories from the sets of 2 and 3 that you have?
Well, it was fun working on both of them. I think we filmed Maniac Cop 2 quite a bit in New York. I stayed at the Mayflower Hotel, so that was a lot of fun shooting there in Manhattan or around. And I just, remember teasing poor Bob Zadar with that makeup on, Not teasing, at least trying to make him laugh when he was going through some, hard times, having to be in, I think, hours not being able to scratch his face. And there's the guy in makeup complaining to Bill Lustig about not being able to eat or scratch his face, so it was hard to take it. At the same time, he wants to rip off the mask, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he can't do that, so there was a little bit of empathetic, but humor, empathy and humor. And then the cast, there was always, I had a good rapport with most of the cast, and on 3, I had a great time with Caitlin Delaney. She was marvelous to work with. She was a great kid, great woman.
Yeah.
And,
because in 3 you get that love story, don't you? And sort of a little love story in there, which is always nice.
Yeah, I felt so, and they were open and collaborative. That end of 3, where I take his arm to light my cigarette, that was my improv. That wasn't scripted. I said, try this here. I said, watch this. And I remember when we screened it, it got a great response in the theater.
Oh yeah, it's a terrific way to sort of end your character as you sort of walk off after you've lit your cigarette. It's fantastic. It's a real sort of B-movie moment. You couldn't do it in any other type of film,
Yeah.
I also noticed that in part 3, there's something of a Die Hard cast reunion with you, Grandel Bush, and Paul Gleason. Was this just by chance, or did you have something to do with that?
No, that was by chance. Maybe the filmmakers and producer at that time, but that wasn't orchestrated by me in the least. Although I did like working with both those guys, and Grand Bush is a good friend.
Yeah. Because also I wanted
Grand
to ask,
was
like, a lot of
Bond.
Yes, he was. Yeah, Grand is. Yeah, I noticed he crops up in Bond. He's one of Bond's associates or friends or something in the.
I don't know how that was funny how that happened.
Yeah, because I mean that's all within a sort of similar time frame, isn't it? Those films. So was it just that you were both jobbing actors at the time and you were crossing each other's paths, or?
There was nothing orchestrated that I knew about. Yeah, it just happened.
Very cool, very cool. And like a lot of your films, there's a lot of action, especially I'm thinking, the end of 3, but also, there's some gunplay in 2 and things like that. Do you enjoy that, and how much of that do you like to do yourself?
Oh, that was a lot of fun. I mean, the coming down the gurney and then shooting through that, I thought that was a classic moment.
Oh, very cool.
You know what I mean? The shooting through the sheets.
Oh yeah, no, that's very cool.
Then doing the backflip over the thing, and that was. I enjoyed doing that. That was, and coming up with different ideas on stuff.
And we couldn't have you on the show without asking about License to Kill. It really honestly is one of my favorites of the whole franchise. And unlike a lot of villains, you get to share a lot of screen time with Timothy Dalton as Bond. What was it like working with him so closely and on a project of that size with such a high profile?
Cubby Broccoli was just a dear person to me, and he was born in Astoria, Queens. He was a New York guy. He grew up on Long Island, being of Italian-American descent, and so was I, and I think, he took a liking to me. He had seen a movie I did called Terrorist on Trial, the United States of America versus Salim Majami. And I had met him a year before. We had dinner at the Bistro. And his Richard Maybaum, this movie I did with Sam Waterston and Ron Liebman was airing on a Sunday night. And Richard Maybaum had called up Cubby Broccoli and said, put on Channel 2 right away. He says, I've got it on. He says, that guy, Salim Ajami, that next Bond villain. And Cubby says, I think so too. So they called me in the next day, and they hadn't written the script yet, and they said, you're going to be the next Bond villain. They kind of knew where they were going to go with it, but they didn't, hadn't written it yet. And then that was kind of tailored along to Timothy and I. And was just very, Michael Wilson stepped in and wrote it along with Richard Maybaum. They were very, it was a great experience.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film, and working with Timothy.
Yeah, that was great working with Timothy. And we took Casino Royale, because there's a great explanation in that of Bond and the villain talking about mirror images of each other, And
yeah.
I always call Timothy the son of Connery and the father of Craig. That's where I put him as a Bond film. That's
a really good description. That's
when they asked me about that. He's Timothy is the son of Connery and the father of Craig, and he because they went back to Casino Royale with Craig, right? And
right.
It's funny how there's amnesia in audiences sometimes, because our film, License to Kill, was the edgiest Bond ever. I mean, that really broke pattern. They're just going back to what that was. And unlike...
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Right. And if you think about this, Timothy did 2 films. Daniel Craig has done how many so far?
3.
He's done 3. Okay. Now, what did they say about the next film? There was something recently, I think.
The one that's coming out after Skyfall?
Yes.
All I've heard is that the director has decided to stay on board. Sam Mendes is staying on board.
Right.
But I've not heard plot stories.
And I heard that Daniel Craig wants to inject more humor into Bond.
Right.
All right, so Timothy was criticized for not having that humor. In other words, Connery had that humor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was very interesting how he came into the scene and how he left the scene, It was very interesting how Connery was able to flip that around. Roger Moore was of a different ilk. And then Timothy kind of didn't embrace the humor too much. But I think if Timothy had continued on Bond, he would have, you know what I mean? The skin wraps around and you become more comfortable in that. And then all of a sudden you're finding other elements to it, And Cubby always said it took 3 pictures for Bond to kind of like emerge, for an actor to emerge as Bond and the audience to accept fully.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, I think it's a crushing shame Dalton didn't get more. He's one of my favorite Bonds, if not occasionally he is my favorite Bond. And it's interesting how that License to Kill, like you said, was much harder and grittier when it came out, and people forget about it for some reason, I don't know why. And Quantum of Solace is, apart from what the villain is doing, the actual revenge plot, or the plot avenging the death of Vesper, is almost identical to License to Kill, or it certainly has a very License to Kill vibe, the second one that Craig has done.
Yes, and then they put Skyfall and they give him, a gay Sanchez, or a defeat Sanchez.
Right, exactly, yes. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that like that, but that's a good point.
Yeah, because that was no, I'm proud of Bond, and a lot of each over the year getting ranked higher and more important, and being appreciated, and what I did with Sanchez getting more and more appreciation.
Yeah, that's great. I think the more that the Craig films can shine a light on what Dalton was doing or trying to do back in the day, that's great. The more that movie becomes better known, because it also comes along at a time where there was that real golden era of action films in the 80s and 90s. And I wanted to ask in a minute, actually, with some of the guys you've been working with recently. I know you did a film with Dolph Lundgren, and now you've been out working on Expendables 3. There was that great era of action, and License to Kill fits right in there as one of those great, 80s and 90s action movies. Lots of great stunts, a good plot, a good villain. It really fits in there with anything that Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and those guys were doing at the time.
Yeah. Well, they all look at every filmmaker and every actor and every serious student or Bond films. They go to the Bond films. Bond films were always kind of ahead of its time. And, I remember directors and producers screening in the motorhomes on set before they would be shooting certain sequences or showing and comparing and looking and saying, you remember that here in this Bond and blah, 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 and the tanker scene here or whatever it might be as a reference point for them.
Yeah.
For me, I've done films with all the guys, I've been lucky to have, a couple of those benchmark films of the 80s from Goonies to Die Hard to Bond is more of the early 90s. Yeah.
And obviously you have a fantastic appearance in Action Jackson. Your role in that is great. Your performance in that is fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It's always, I remember Arnold I did Raw Deal with Arnold, but when we saw, was Action Jackson before Die Hard? I forget.
Action Jackson was 88. It was after Raw Deal. It was before License to Kill and Die Hard.
It was before them. Oh, okay. I remember, yeah. Because Arnold never liked when it was funny, because he always likes the strong characters, bold characters, me playing bold. So he didn't know as an actor I wanted to play, you know what I mean? When Joel said, hey, would you play this character, Joel Silver?
Yeah.
That it was a bit of a challenge to play that paranoid guy, you know what I mean? I had not played someone that way before. And Arnold was funny about it.
Yeah, it's a great little scene that just kind of makes that movie pop, that he would have this friend and, you in the hotel room, and it's both sad and humorous at the same time, and there's a lot going on in that scene. It really sort of adds something to that movie. And like I said, you just got back from working on Expendables 3. That must have been an amazing experience. How did that come about?
And well, that was like being on another, in a way, like a Bond set, because those guys have done 3 already, you know what I mean? So there's now a familiarity with the crew and the way you were treated and the machine that it has, you know what I mean? It was just I just had a great time over there in Bulgaria and Sofia. Everyone was wonderful. And Sly I've known for years. I've known Sly since, the early 80s at least, or even Rocky, you know what I mean? And he's been a friend. I've been at his birthdays, and so my 13-year-old, my son will be 13, is a huge Expendables fan and Stallone fan, and Arnold, but he's loves those films, and these kids come over and they have like these Expendable parties. Who's going to play Barney Ross?
That's great.
Yeah, so I kind of like said, so I had to become part of that franchise.
So it was through you talking to Stallone, but also obviously you knowing Stallone for that length of time.
Yeah. He's wanted me to be. I was supposed to work with him a long time ago, and he's always liked each other. And of course, I think he's just one of the great active filmmakers of all time, creating iconic figures. He's really a people's filmmaker.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think,
he touches James Joyce said, "To forge in the smithy of my soul the uncreated conscience of my race." He touches certain aspects of the human heart, that Capra aspect, but with edge, with a, not that Capra didn't have edge, of course he did. But, so anyway, so you have that, and, but we, and I think we'll be working together much more in the future.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's been really great to see Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger as well, especially in the recent movie Escape Plan, just have such, they've seemed so much more relaxed, happy, and Stallone, like you say, he's putting all these great people together. He's backing these friends that he's had a long time, putting them in movies and things, and it's, for fans especially, it's, it's a dream come true. We couldn't be happier.
Yeah, they love it. And and Arnold is fun. Arnold and I were very close after Raw Deal for many, many years.
Great.
And had a lot of fun together.
And is there anything you can tell us about Expendables 3, or is it all on lockdown?
It's on lockdown, basically. I could just say that I play a character called Gordon Vata, who is head of Albanian Mafia. That's what it is.
I see.
Iceman, have you seen the Iceman?
I haven't. No, I was watching some interviews with you online in preparation for this, and I was thinking I've got to see that. I just saw you promoting it on a show, and it had passed me by, I have to say. Although I was aware of it, but I haven't seen it since. I became aware of it, but then I hadn't followed through. So no, I must.
Yeah, you should take a look at it. It's a great film. Great young director Ariel Rahman. Terrific performance by all the actors, especially Michael Shannon. I mean,
it's got a great cast, yeah.
Yeah. Check that out. And I've got a film called Lost Time that I think is going to be very interesting coming out.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check out The Iceman. And what's Lost Time about? When's that coming out?
Lost Time is, I'm not sure when it's coming out, but I think it's going to be, I saw some footage of it. It's quite interesting. It's about alien abduction.
Yeah.
And, it could be one of these cultish films. Lou Goss is in it, and that girl, Michelle Alessa, who's not really known, but she's terrific. But it's a very good, it looks like it could be very interesting.
Very, very cool, very cool. I'll definitely keep an eye out on that, and obviously we'll tell the listeners to keep an eye out for those movies. That's great. Did you want to talk about your album?
I want people to go on my website, Davi Sings Sinatra. Go to www.davisingsinatra.com. Go to Amazon, iTunes, listen to some clips, download it, buy the physical copy, tell your friends it's the holiday season, get it for a gift. I also have a new Christmas single coming out November 25th called New York City Christmas. So it's really an iconic, brand new song. Never been done before, and I'm the first one to do it with a real up-tempo swing beat that's a tribute to New York. And I think people will, it'll catch on.
Oh, that's wonderful. I can't wait to hear that. That sounds great.
Yeah, spread the word about it, and, tell your fans or your friends and your listeners to check out the music. And I'll be touring. I'll be doing some stuff around the world in the next year or so. So. Yeah,
and any plans to come to New York and perform?
Yeah, well, I'll be doing that. I think I'll be doing that for the song. I'll be in New York sometime, probably end of November, December. I might be doing a quick film here in L.A. in November here. And then they're setting up a lot of those appearances with the new Christmas song.
Well, that's great. I'll keep an eye out there down and see it. That'll be great. I look forward to hearing the song. And thanks again, Mr. Davi, for being on the show. It's just been great to talk to you. And thank you very much, Robert. And I'm a long-time fan, and we'll continue to do so.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Are you getting your fans going? I mean, you're getting a nice group of people.
Yeah, I'm getting some good listeners, and obviously, interviews like yourself. And I spoke to William Sadler, a fellow actor, William Sadler, recently, and that was fantastic. But yeah, we're building it. We've got a great website. We've got some marketing companies contacting us to do screeners and review films and things. So yeah, it's really picking up. And
it's coming along. Well, congratulations on doing it, and I appreciate you. You and if you have a team involved or if it's just you, it's important getting the word out there, and everybody has to. Everything starts somewhere.
Yeah, indeed, and thank you so much, actors like yourself, supporting shows like ours. It just means the world, and it really helps us with listeners, and the fans love it and things like that. So it's really great. Thanks ever so much, Robert.
All right, thank you, my friend.
Greetings and salutations, Mr. Cross. Congratulations on your 100th episode. What a monumental mark that is. Hopefully I'll make it to 100. I don't know. It's possible I could give up in the next 8 or 9 episodes. It's very possible. But there's a couple things that I've got to say for those at home listening that John Cross has brought to podcasting. Well, if you don't know that, when John started off, there was thousands and thousands more podcasters out there, but he literally ruined it for all of them. They just gave up. This guy, Mr. Cross here, he is so fucking crazy with editing. It's mind blowing. He produces his show to the point of nausea. Like I listen to it and it makes me sad about my own show. I'm like, oh, why do I even bother? But, and I'm not the only one that's felt that way. It's like you listen to it and it's like looking at the Mona Lisa and then like looking at your freaking, sketchbook of happy face drawings. It's just, it really bums you out. But I mean, really, John Cross here has raised the bar so freaking high. He's raised it too damn high that people don't even want to podcast anymore. They're like, why bother? I've even heard people on NPR, like their shows that have been canceled on there just because they're like, well, this guy sitting in an apartment in New York, he's not even trying hard and we can't even compete. But, something I got to say is that I almost bought a freaking Macintosh computer because I thought that was the edge. Like I was like, oh, it's not because he has talent or because he has a way with sound files or like an actual creative mind to him. It was because of his equipment. That's the answer. Buy a Macintosh and that'll be my ace in the hole. No, I didn't go that far, but I mean, really. It brought me to the point that I gave up for my own show. I gave up and went for the quote unquote live feel, the unedited, the raw conversation and experience is what I go for. That's my flavor of the month. But John, congratulations, dude. You really have. As much as all the kidding aside, you inspired me to keep going in my darkest times. When I thought it was easier to give up than to continue on, for whatever reason, I found something within you or within somebody you were close to that helped inspire me to keep going. You've been nothing but a friend and a gentleman, and I appreciate that and adore that. And there's very few people over the years, over these last 2 years of podcasting that I call a true friend, and you are that, sir. So congratulations, and I'm glad I can make it as part of your 100th episode. I'm on the internet.
You'll be pleased to know that Lewis Cogill from the Traumatic Cinematic Show is now getting the help that he needs and is with the right doctors and the right people that he needs around him so that an outburst such as that won't happen again. So, yeah. Don't worry about that. He is getting all the treatment that modern medicine can provide.
Hi, I'm Doug the Geek.
And I'm Ashley the Academic. And we're
the hosts of the Above the... What are you doing?
We're supposed to say the title of the show, the Above the Line Podcast.
Yeah, we're supposed to say it together, you dullard. Now, let's try it again.
And we're the hosts of
No, not yet. Hold on. I'm just kidding. Go for it.
And we're the hosts
of the Above...
Come on!
Okay, forget that. Just tell them where they can find us.
Find the Above the Line Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook.com/the Above the Line Podcast, or just check us out at AboveTheLinePodcast.com.
We cover the best and most interesting films in the history of cinema from both my own geeky perspective
and my more cultured academic perspective.
And it's fun.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. So check us out.
The Above the Line
Podcast. Yeah, you were still off.
They're 12 miles of bad road, and now they have a microphone and their own show. It's the Daily Grindhouse Podcast, the official podcast of DailyGrindhouse.com. Starring Gene.
You tell that bitch who sent you here how sorry I am I can no longer be her friend.
And the man called Perry.
I'm the one that killed Monday and whooped Tuesday and put Wednesday in the hospital. Called up Thursday to tell Friday not to bury Saturday on Sunday.
Reviewing the hits and the hidden from the world of exploitation cinema and beyond. Featuring exclusive cast and crew interviews. Past guests include John Carpenter, Robert Forster, Brian Trenchard Smith, but still no Steve Guttenberg. We'll get him someday. We promise. We promise. The Daily Grindhouse Podcast, available on iTunes, Stitcher Smart Radio, Podomatic, and of course at dailygrindhouse.com/podcasts. The Daily Grindhouse Podcast. Tough films for the rough crowd.
Got the goddamn message? Let's go to work.
Hi, my name's Chris, and I've got Steven Seagal on the old dog and bone. Steven.
Yes.
Have you ever desired to hear a weekly movie podcast hosted by two fellows from the northeast of England who run their little hands through the week's movie news and then cap it off with a review or two, ranging from all sorts of genres: kung fu, anime, straight-to-video tomfoolery, bit of horror?
No.
Well, you're a dick who doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't even know why I'm asking you. I'm sure there's other people out there who have desired to hear such a thing, so if you're one of those lovely people, pop on over to wafufm.com. That's WAFUFM.com, and check out the show. You can also find us on iTunes, TalkShoe, and Facebook at facebook.com/wafublog. Wafu FM. It's a podcast that's good and stuff. Shut up, Stephen.
Well, here on the show, it seems only apt that we introduce yet again into our leatherette booths the wonder that started it all with me those 100 episodes ago. It's Mr. John Wallace. And, sir, it is a pleasure to have you back on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing brilliantly. And, congratulations on 100 episodes. Merry century.
Indeed.
I think it's an amazing achievement, and the show has been getting better and better and better, and it's always a cracking listen, and it's always a pleasure to be involved.
Definitely. Well, I can't do an anniversary or a special show or anything like that without having you on it. You started it all, known you the longest. You're the guy, you're the man, you're the go-to person. Have to have you on the show. So what's it been like for you as sort of the most regular co-host we've had? I think I'm right in saying the most regular co-host we've had, although Jim is nipping at your heels probably with all the Dino episodes he's done. But what's it like for you to have gone from episode 1 to episode 100 and see it all change and evolve and everything like that?
Well, I think it's been absolutely brilliant. I mean, because it started out as just having a good old chat about things like, a couple of new Woody movies and sort of a big sprawling chat about that, and then doing something a bit more interesting with Joe Dante,
which still remains a very popular episode, I have to say. It was cracking fun. What I like about it most, I have to say, is that it gives me in a funny sort of way, the diner gives me the video shop experience, because through doing things like Woods and Weller, I'm compelled to watch things which normally I might not give a chance. Because I was thinking today on the way back from work, what we used to do in Star Video is, go in there and get like the one that you definitely knew you wanted to see. And then you go off and get the completely random weird ass one that just had a bit of an interesting cover, or like Robert, or some famous person in it. Right.
And take a chance. And the problem with streaming sites that I really, really find is that, you can't deny that streaming sites give you, Love Film or whatever, give you the most unbelievable choice, but it's too much. And I just find myself endlessly searching and and I never take a chance on things, or I do occasionally, but it's just not the same as going into a video shop and going, right, these four walls are my, section of choice, and I have to take a chance on something. So what's been really good about doing, for instance, Woods and Weller, is we've watched the most random films that would have completely passed me by. Now, in about half those cases, fair enough. I'm quite happy for them to have passed the plot. But for things like Blue Jean Cop, and I don't know what's another interesting one. Blue Jean Cop was the standout one for me.
Yeah.
Even a funny one like that Jimmy Woods prison one.
Portrait of a Killer or whatever it's called.
Portrait of a Killer. There were moments of voiceover that made that film so worthwhile.
Yeah.
And Of Unknown Origin is a complete classic as far as I'm concerned. And I never would have watched that.
No, of course not.
So it maintains doing the diner for me has maintained that video shop experience, that precious, important video shop experience of being exposed to things that you wouldn't necessarily take a chance on. And it does it far more efficiently than I can do through my own choice on things like streaming sites.
Yeah.
And of course, for us, it's really important because you're my oldest friend, and it's the way we keep in touch, which is tremendously important, obviously.
Yeah, definitely, and that's another key element for me as well. I completely agree. And what I've loved, speaking from my side of it, is always knowing you as a little bit, not completely, but a little bit of a picky bastard in certain areas when it came to movies. I certainly came to like sitting through a whole movie or whatever, and always being someone who kind of joked to me about my sprawling B-movie collection and my ability to be able to sit in front of anything for 90 minutes, no matter how random and bizarre, just because, I don't know, Campbell would show up for 5 minutes and sneeze or whatever, or Walter Koenig happened to be in it or something random like that. I think through doing the show with you is that it feels like what you're saying, it feels like we're back on the sofa at Westcombe, but it also feels like, again, you're opening up, or you have over the last sort of like 2 or 3 years opened up a lot more to watching a whole bunch of stuff, even if it's a slog, even if it like isn't what you were hoping it would be. At the end of it, we've had, that we're going to have a fun chat about it and see how we feel about it. And having to be a guest on other people's shows and having to stick to certain formulas on this show, I've had to sit through a bunch of things I never wanted to sit through. Sometimes you have a guest on and they say, yeah, I'd really love to cover these 2 films. And you're like, honestly, I could have no interest. But you sit and you watch them, and your job is to find something in them that's sort of interesting and passionate. And it was nice to see that we had got an email on this show that says exactly that like, on the diner, we can watch some real crap, but we always find something to be enthused or passionate or find enjoying in that crap.
Well, I think the trick for me has been, I think Woods and Weller was a really clever trick, because we just said, let's just go with a couple of actors that we absolutely love, and then they're so bloody brilliant. They just carry things along, or not even brilliant, but just really gripping people to watch, that it doesn't really matter about whatever like shite they're starring in, even if it's utter piffle. I still managed to stick with most of them. I think there was one movie that I found a bit of a drag in all of Woods and Weller, which I think was the Jimmy Woods. Funny enough, the Jimmy Woods Dennehy one. I think I found
bestseller.
Yeah, I think I found it just not good enough for something that had Woods and Dennehy in. Like, I just needed more from it. But and even that was, I watched it and it was great. But I think that's a really big. I think that's what's great, and that's why I'm really keen to do like Keaton and Koto, because there are 2 people who I could watch until the cows come home as well.
Yeah, which we are going to do. We're going to do Keaton and Koto, and that'll be coming up. Hopefully in November we'll do the first one, or maybe early December.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I'd also love to do Stranger in Town and.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, we're going to do that before we embark on Keaton and Koto. We're going to do tell us what that is. So shows we've got coming up, you and I have got planned in the next couple of months. One of them is Strangers in Town. What's that, sir?
Strangers in Town is just an idea I had for like a good, like, thematically strong podcast.
We do like our themes.
We do, which was just based around. It's like almost my favourite kind of movie is The Stranger in Town. The strange character actor wanders into intrigue in Midwestern Dust Bowl,
Yeah.
And we're thinking about doing Bad Day at Black Rock, Red Rock West, and U-Turn, which have really similar things going on in them, have really great performances from leading men who can drive you mad with how the sort of crap they do.
Right.
But these are these guys in their element, and I'd love to do that and compare them and talk about the things that run through them, because I think it's a real American cinema speciality, and it's a diner speciality. That's what it is. Yeah. It's a special.
I like that idea. We're definitely going to do that. We're going to do. I want to do Jack Nicholson 5 Easy Pieces, and you want to do Jack Nicholson. What's the one you want to do? The Sailor, the one where the Last Detail. So we're definitely going to do a Nicholson double bill.
70s Nicholson has to be done at some point, because Jack Nicholson in the 70s was just, as far as I can tell, was just the greatest actor ever.
Yeah, I think you're going to love 5 Easy Pieces if you haven't seen it already. So we definitely do that.
Your diner on your blog, and you had your 10 best diner moments, the 5 Easy Pieces thing, and I thought, yes, I have to see that film, and I can't believe I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's great. So we'll definitely do that as a Nicholson one, and we'll do many Keaton and Kotos. I'm going to have to ransack their IMDb page for
but this time out, because I'm almost disappointed with myself that I didn't buy every Woods and Weller that we watched on DVD.
I'm really disappointed I didn't do that.
Yeah, so I think I might have to do that this time around, just for fun.
Well, I did, because I bought Diggstown and I bought 50-50, which were two of the most random ones.
Oh, no, that's the one that was a ball ache, 50-50. You liked 50-50, but
I loved 50-50.
God, that was shash. But no, still, I think I might have to buy all the Keaton and Kotos. I mean, I don't know what's going to be available, but the other thing I'd say about the diner is that I genuinely like listening to other people's shows as well. And, it's not just about me listening back to myself and going, how wonderful am I? It's about, I really like listening to you and Jim, because, again, it transports me back to my old house and us all talking about movies. And I really like the stuff you've done with David DeMoss. I really like your X-Men one and your Superman one. And I really enjoyed your, what's he called? The serial killer one you did, the 4-hour movie with Gyllenhaal.
Oh, Zodiac?
Zodiac. I really like Zodiac.
With Mark McDonald. Yeah, Mark McDonald, who's the host of his own show. And I loved that episode. I thought it was a really, really good episode.
Well, getting back on, because I thought that was great. And I genuinely, I listened to that walking through Green Park, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. You should definitely do more with him. So it's fun, and it's like, there's listen to different contributors and go like, oh, this makes me think I'd really like to cover this film, and I almost want to like race ahead of other people to get in the queue, to queue up various movies that I want to come into the diner and wang on about.
Well, that's what I like about all the different guest hosts, is that they've all got their own sensibility. So I get to, and my sensibility is quite broad, so I get to kind of cover a whole bunch of different stuff. With one person I'm doing, full moon B movies from 1983 featuring Tim Thomason, and with someone else I'm doing Werner Herzog, or with you rather, I'm doing Werner Herzog, with someone else I'm doing superhero stuff, and it's just, that's great. It's wonderful. It's what I love. But look, thanks ever so much for being on the show, dude. Thanks ever so much for continuing to be a host on the show, and here's to 100, and here's to 100 more, I guess.
Yeah, happy birthday, Dinah. And I can't wait to see where you are on 200 episodes. As I say, I think the benchmark is a Stallone interview by episode 200. So we'll by that time.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely possible.
You think possible, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. That gives me... I guess if I did an episode a week, my 200 episodes will come in about 2 years' time. 2.5 years' time. So
yeah, and he'll be there.
He will. 2015.
Expendables 9 or whatever he's working on.
If they make Expendables 9, I'm there. I'm happy with all that.
I'm going to see Escape Plan. I don't care that it's been slagged off. I am going to see Escape Plan.
It's not been slagged off on our website, so we supported it. The one thing I would say is be aware that it is be aware that it's a drama, not an action film. The last 15 minutes are an action film, the rest of it is a drama. And be aware that Arnold is clearly, having been the governor and got back into acting, Arnold is loving it. He's like just having a ball. Like in The Last Stand, he is just chewing every bit of scenery available. And then in Escape Plan, which is the second kind of post-governor show film that isn't an Expendables movie that he's done, he is the most watchable guy in the whole film. He's got like little cheeky grins going on and like funny quips and he is a joy to watch in Escape Plan. Arnold is he's just having a ball. It's like he's been given a second lease of life, and he's not only being incredibly nice in interviews, because I mean, you know, after fucking cheating on the First Lady of California, who's also an old Kennedy and all the rest of it, like, you know, his approval rating was not great. You know, I was fathering illegitimate children with the maid. You know, at that point, you have to kind of...
it sounded like Christopher Walken.
Yeah, true, sorry. But being a bit humble. But in interviews, he's being a really nice guy. He's all over the internet doing, like, funny things and being on Reddit and stuff like that. And in movies, he's just having a ball. I defy you to watch Escape Plan and not look at Arnie and go, yeah, he's just having a ball with an old mate. That's exactly what he's doing.
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to enjoy it.
And the action at the end is well worth waiting for.
Good. So I will leave it there, dude. But congratulations again. And,
yes.
It's a thrill and a pleasure as always, and I can't wait to hear the episodes.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Well, thanks ever so much for being on, and let's talk soon about Strangers in Town.
We will.
All right, man. Take it easy. Do you like the After Movie Diner? Of course you do. You're listening to this rubbish. But if you do like the After Movie Diner, there's now one place where you can go. That's aftermoviediner.com, where everything is there. Absolutely everything. All the news, reviews, interviews, everything at aftermoviediner.com. But not only stuff from the After Movie Diner, but also all the commentaries, interviews, and reviews and articles and things like that from Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid commentaries. Yes, that's absolutely true. Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid is now part of aftermoviediner.com. So you needn't be looking all over the internet. How do I find these shows? What do I do? Where are they? It's quite simple. aftermoviediner.com. For all your regular and action-specific news, reviews, interviews, and articles, aftermoviediner.com. Twem Nimbley, Norwegian physicist and owner of Grebthar the Wander Spaniel, described my guest tonight as having an intriguing, if not altogether pleasant, face-to-beard ratio. He was forged under the twin nipply canyons of Bouncy and Wax, brought to Earth to fight injustice, killed by a stack of as-yet unordered and wobbling VHS while making a playhouse for him and a tiny horse, resurrected by some drunken naked teenagers during an all-you-can-vomit toga-shedding event, and walks the streets of Connecticut, slaying the good, cuddling the bad, and pointing and laughing at anyone in jeggings. It is said that the internet can't get down and get funky without his permission, and that he owns a fleet of dwarfs that shelter under a large pair of striped pants he owns whenever it rains. Whether that's true or not, he is here with us today to celebrate this, the 100th time that I have had absolutely no idea how to start this unwieldy and, who are we kidding, past it show. Henry Winkler calls him for sexting advice, Brian Blessed weeps openly at the sight of his facial hair, and he loves bacon like a filthy gypsy. It's the one, the only, I give you, the Mo Porn.
How am I going to live up to that introduction? Half of that is false.
Yes. Well, I have to say, it's the 100th show, so I had to make some kind of effort. And for people listening at home, there's the effort. That's your lot. There's no more effort to be made. And
the whole rest of the episode is like going to be no editing, no
fuck it,
anything.
No.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, it's the 100th show. It's all down here from now on. That's the motto of the After Movie Diner. 100 shows. There we go. There was production value. There was skits. There were songs. Not anymore. I'm old. I'm tired, and I quite frankly don't care anymore. That's not at all true. But anyway, sir, how have you been? How have you been? It's been a long time since you graced the halls of the diner.
Yeah, not bad. Been doing my thing. Nothing particularly interesting happening.
And anything on the cards for Drunk on VHS or No Budget Nightmares, your two podcasts?
Yeah, both are, well, I mean, any crossover we have between the two shows knows that I put a little hiatus on both of them a while ago just because of my living situation and things that were beyond my control. So, but everything's kind of...
Because you're now working for the government, right? And you're in an underground bunker somewhere in an
It's true. And there's no internet down here. They don't want me having any kind of contact with the outside world. And I said, yeah, that's fine. No problem. I have no problem with that. But now that's over. The trial is over, and and I was acquitted. So,
I thought you'd become a secret agent. I'd got my wires crossed then. Clearly.
Oh, no. I had been indicted. No, but
by a court of people jealous of your beard.
Right. Yeah, they tried to find a jury of my peers, but that's impossible.
It's impossible because I'm in New York City for starters.
It's thoroughly impossible. Yeah, they would have had to have flown in all sorts of podcasters.
Me and Doug. No, well, not Doug. Doug's kind of beneath us both, but
Doug would have taken one look at me and been guilty.
And he's the nice one. He's the Canadian.
Right. But anyway, yeah. So everything's kind of wrapped up, and I can start recording again real soon. So expect to see new episodes of No Budget Nightmares within the coming weeks. We're going to cover the classic film Kindergarten Ninja.
Nice, very nice.
And there's a connection between films here because I think it was the 5th episode we did. I think we're up into the 30s or 40s now. But the 5th episode we did, we covered this little gem called Las Vegas Bloodbath. And the guy who produced Las Vegas Bloodbath also produced Kindergarten Ninja. And when you think about those two movies side by side, knowing that Kindergarten Ninja was basically a made-for-TV sort of PSA about like how you shouldn't drink and drive, because if you do, you might have to teach a class of small children how to do kung fu with the ghost of Bruce Lee.
Oh, right, okay. I thought it was if you drink and drive, you may have to face the Kindergarten Ninja. Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
No. And it's starring one of like the 3rd tier San Francisco 49ers at the time. I couldn't even tell you the guy's name. I don't know anything about sports, but I want to say like Dwight Clark or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sure, that sounds like a football player's name.
Yes. 3rd-tier player Dwight Clark from the 80s San Francisco, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what we're going to cover on there. And then I was thinking for my first episode back for Drunk on VHS, I would cover the legitimate classic, Never Too Young to Die.
Nice. It's all good. I can't wait for those two shows to come back, sir. I am poised and moist and ready for that. So
within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. Can't wait. That's exciting news. And you've done a rather ridiculous thing. The 3 films or the trilogy that we're covering today on the show, you've watched this afternoon on 1.5 speed.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Okay. I woke up today at 12:30, 2 hours after I had set my alarm for, by the way.
Yeah.
And you said, and I said, can we start a little later? And you're like, well, the closer to 4 we can start, the better. I'm like, no problem. I'll make it happen.
So Cue the training montage.
Yeah, exactly. I should have been a training montage. Absolutely. And I popped the first movie in, popped that sucker. I originally started it at double speed, but then realized I couldn't understand anything anybody was saying. And I'm like, that's too fast. So I ended up watching the entire first 2 movies on 1.5 speed, on 1.5 speed.
Nice.
And
very
surprisingly enough, I think I was able to take relatively coherent notes on both of those movies. The problem with the 3rd movie is there's just too much happening.
Right.
There's not enough action where I can just look up occasionally and say, okay, this bus flips, or whatever.
Right. It's annoying that when movies have too much going on in them. Sometimes you just want movies to have really very little going on in them. You know,
I love extended chase scenes for that reason. There is a chase scene. There's your notes.
Right.
You know?
No, exactly. Or like a Ryan Gosling film where 2/3 of it will be him looking out of a window vacantly.
One of these days I'm going to write up some notes for Only God Forgives or whatever the hell that movie's called.
Only Ryan Stares or whatever it's called.
Right, exactly. And it'll be Ryan Gosling Stares.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling looks slightly vacant and pounty.
Yeah. I started it. I started that movie once, tried to watch it, and I was just like, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the guy. He used to do relatively interesting movies and seemed to be an up-and-comer. And now he's just, okay, I'm going to take my shirt off and look out a window.
Yeah, exactly. How is this the same guy who did Lars and the Real Girl?
Don't know. Or made that really cool album, Dead Man's, what was it?
I don't know.
Forget it. Anyway, fuck him. Fuck him and his stupid, bland face. Tonight we're talking about the Maniac Cop trilogy, which is quite possibly the most bizarre 100th episode ever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, normally a 100th episode would be like, oh, my favourite films, or something. I don't know. It would normally be, I really like this movie.
And this time around, we're like, you know what I'm going to do for my 100th episode? I'm going to talk about a trilogy of films starring a man with a softball mitt for a face.
Yes. I'm going to start talking about a man who looks quite literally like he's been panel beaten about the head. Robert Zadar, wonderful man. Yeah, his face looks like one of those old stress balls, you know?
Right. Yeah, like the
squeeze.
alien ones where you squeeze the bottom and the eyes bulge out of the top.
Yeah, or just the ones that you used to squeeze and they would slowly reform. He looks like his face is slowly reforming, having been squeezed quite a lot.
He looks like a non-Newtonian fluid.
Indeed. What a eloquent way to put it, sir. What an eloquent way to put it. And throughout the episode dealing with the Maniac Cop trilogy, we have 100th episode emails, comments, and voicemails that I will be reading out and playing and so on. So let's start with one of those. Let's go to the bottom from our man, Mr. Matt Farley, over at Moturn Media, who made such classics as Freaky Farley, Monsters, Marriage and Murder in Manch Vegas, and recently Local Legends, and of course the hit, the Amazon.com hit, Don't Let the River Beast Get You, which is available on all formats, I think, right now, at the moment, streaming, on demand, DVD, and everything. So check that out. And he writes, my thoughts on AMD and its 100th episode. My filmmaking partner Charlie alerted me to the Diner's great early episodes about Don Dola. Since our movies are similar to Don's, we sent some DVDs to the Diner, which were reviewed with the appropriate level of respect and humour. Flash forward a year, and John Cross has a cameo in my most recent movie. A few months later, he hosts the NYC premiere of that movie. I'm thrilled to have been able to spend time with such an energetic man who is always eager to share his passion for movies. He's starting to make a name for himself, earning press passes, snagging interviews with bigger and bigger names in the industry, and getting more and more popular. Well, I don't know about that, Matt, but thanks ever so much for saying it. He says, after another 100 episodes, he'll need an assistant to sort through all the screeners coming in from the big studios. I'll be proud to say I knew him when. And if my filmmaking career continues on this trajectory, I might be applying for that job as assistant to John Cross. Keep me in mind, John. And that's from Mr. Matt Farley, the wonderful Matt Farley. Well, thanks ever so much, sir. Wonderful 100th email from you, and the sum of $75 and a lollipop is winging its way to you now in a brown unmarked envelope. So that's all good. Apparently Doug Tilley said he was going to send us something through, but he's still, quote unquote, working on it. So that could mean anything.
That sounds terrifying.
Well, actually, just a few short hours after I recorded this with Mo, I did indeed get something through the mail from Douglas Tilley. Roll the clip, please.
Yes, master.
Hello, it's Doug Tilley calling from the Above the Line and No Budget Nightmares podcast and writer over at dailygrindhouse.com, wishing the After Movie Diner a happy 100th episode. You know, it's kind of funny that I wasn't asked to be on this episode, considering I was the star of two of your most popular and beloved episodes. And in fact, to speak on a personal note, those two episodes, they represented very different kind of spectrums regarding kind of the tone. The first episode was kind of contentious. We talked about the two Franco Nero Django films and Django Unchained, and things got a little heated. And it's interesting that I think that was probably the most contentious episode of a podcast I've ever been on. Then just recently, you had me back. We talked about the Coen brothers, something that we mutually loved, and it was such a special, unique, warming experience that it's something I really think about with a lot of pleasure and optimism. There's a moment in that episode, and if we're going to talk about favorite moments from the podcast, I can only pick one that I was on, because those, of course, are the best. There was a moment where we started talking about, I don't know how we got on the tangent of Martin Scorsese's The Last Waltz, the final concert of the band. But when we talked about that, I almost got choked up a little bit, because I was thinking about all of the different emotions I have connected with that film. We were both speaking on it in a very sincere, very, kind of in-your-face level, and I felt like we had a connection at that moment that you don't usually see when people are talking about films, and it really kind of reminded me that let's stop all the fussing and the fighting. Let's just get together, man. And that's what I want you all to do this 100th episode, After Movie Diner. Get together. Have a good time. Let's see 100 more. Let me be on one or two of them. And let's fight again soon, but in a friendly way. Love you. Mwah.
So let's have a look on the Facebook page quickly, sir. Anyway, Doc Paul Croson, or Dr. Action as he is better known in these parts, says, I love the series. He's talking about Maniac Cop Trilogy. Says, I love the series, full of action, horror, Campbell, and the Atkins tash. Plus, when it comes to the jaw and chin, Campbell meets his match in Zadar. And let's face it, you can't better that. I had the movie posters on my wall as a child. That says all sorts of things about Doc Croson.
It really does.
They're great. And he says, and Davi kicks ass in the second. And lastly, on the Facebook page, Gary Hill writes, great grisly series of films. Atkins, Campbell, and Zadar's chin. A great combo. Kind of vague recollection of three great films, but I got a lot of love for these flicks. So
I actually had an interesting comment on when I posted it that I was watching the first one. Friend of your show and mine, Philip O'Neill.
Philip O'Neill, everybody needs a listener like you.
Wrote Maniac Cop, a.k.a. The Battle of the Chins.
Yeah.
And my response to that, I wrote, it's really more like the chin versus the catcher's mitt.
It is really. It's kind of the chin meets the face.
Right, exactly. Because whereas Bruce Campbell has a very distinct lantern jaw, Robert Zadar's kind of takes over his entire face.
Robert Zadar and the jaw that just won't quit.
It won't stop. For the longest time, I thought it was makeup. I'm like, why does this guy want to wear this makeup in every movie that he's in? And then I'm like, shit, that is his face.
Yes, that is his face. So, seeing as we just mentioned Philip O'Neill,
here
is Philip O'Neill's voicemail for this very special 100th episode extravaganza.
I'm coming, master.
Roll the clip or there'll be no more pudding.
Hi, this is Philip O'Neill. And I want to congratulate you, John, on having recorded 100 episodes for the After Movie Diner podcast. That's pretty amazing, I gotta say. Speaking of amazing, the Maniac Cop films. Now, I haven't seen the third one in a long time. I remember that one being kind of pretty lackluster and sort of very uneven. But Maniac Cop 1 and 2, I love. They're directed by the exploitation director William Lustig and written by the great Larry Cohen. They're a wonderful mixture of action and horror. In fact, they're a mixture of the undead serial killer genre and slasher genre and action genre, which is I can't think of any other horror, any kind of film that's a mixture of these two genres. So they're kind of unique. These films. Next you have 1 minute you have slashings, and the next minute you have a car chase. I mean, it's just these movies are it's a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. There's some terrific stunts in Maniac Cop 2, I gotta say. In fact, Maniac Cop 2 is it's a little better. It's kind of a better film than the first one, actually. Even though Bruce Campbell does get killed off at the beginning of the film. But anyway, I love the first two films, and I love Maniac Cop films. That's all I have to say.
So we'll have more comments from Facebook, and we'll have more comments from our mailbag later on in the show. But let's move on to the first movie, Mo, with Maniac Cop 1.
There is something in the streets. Something in the shadows. Something in the dark that kills.
You're trying to tell me 2 kids did this?
She's got a statement from an eyewitness that said she saw the kids attack her.
Officer! Oh, thank God it's you.
The head was unstable and there was a sudden deceleration injury.
You think a cop did this?
Why not?
You automatically assumed that it was a police officer instead of some lunatic son of a bitch dressed up like a cop.
He didn't kill the girl. He wanted a witness. He'll kill again. He enjoys killing.
He strikes without cause. Without mercy.
Who's he killing? Pushers? Hustlers?
Innocent people.
Maniac Cop?
You may be getting information from inside the department.
That means he is one of us.
When the killer is a cop, there's danger in every badge.
You're not gonna get me.
Suspicion in every uniform.
Since when is my personal life any of your business?
Since your wife was found dead in a motel room.
When a cop turns killer, no one is safe.
See a cop, you crossed to the other side of the street.
He'll find you wherever you are.
Bye, squad.
He'll destroy you, whoever you are.
Broke out of your cell, you killed them all.
It wasn't me, it was somebody else. I didn't do any of this.
Now they think they got the guilty man, so you'll be free to get to the mayor and the commissioner.
Reason cannot stop him. Bullets cannot kill him. This is one maniac you'll have to face alone or die. The choice is yours. You can fight him. Remain silent forever. Starring Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead. Maniac Cop.
Give us a lowdown on it.
Oh, it's one of those movies about people and they do stuff.
Well, it's directed by... You cunt. It's directed by William Lustig, written by Larry Cohen, him of It's Alive and Q, the Winged Serpent fame.
Yeah, what a combination.
Yeah, but also the first one is produced by none other than diner favourite James Jimmy the Glickenhaus.
Right.
Which is fantastic, because you can't beat Glickenhaus. You can imagine he was on... They said in the commentary that... Because I watched the first one's commentary, they said that Glickenhaus Shapiro, which was the production company at the time, didn't interfere with any of the creative decisions. I was like, Glickenhaus isn't creative. He came on set and went, blow more shit up. That's what Glickenhaus said. Said, can we set him on fire more? That's basically where Glickenhaus's input came in. But yeah, so it's a powerhouse production team. You've also got a fantastic cast. You've got Tom Atkins, of course, Bruce Campbell. You've got Richard Roundtree. Shaft himself is in this movie. Robert Zadar, Shereen North, and also Lorene Landon, who is she's not a big star or anything, but she's pretty prominent in this series. And of course, a cameo from Bill Lustig's, I think, uncle. Jake LaMotta, Raging Bull himself, is in this movie. Mm-hmm. So did you want to give us try and give us a lowdown of the plot, Safari?
All right, so basically it's New York, and there's a man in a cop's uniform who is murdering people for what appears for initially is no apparent reason. We eventually discover that he was a former cop who everybody thought was dead. He apparently is superhuman because he takes several bullets to the chest and face and nothing really happens.
Right.
And it turns out to be this cop by the name of Matt Cordell.
Yes, indeed. Played by the irrepressible Robert Zadar, who made his name somewhat on this series of films. I mean, I know he's been in a ton of other cult stuff, but this is probably what he's known for, right?
This is some of the biggest stuff he's done, without a doubt, which is kind of sad when you think about it, because he's done... I mean, he's so good. Like he's such a good actor that it's crazy to think that this is the biggest thing he's ever done.
He also had a cameo in Tango and Cash, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But nobody said, "Oh, let's hire this guy because he's Robert Z'Dar." They probably said, "Look at that mitt for a face. He would look good as a bad guy."
Yeah, look at that face that looks like two moon faces colliding in a bag.
Right.
Which is quite fantastic. Yeah, and when did you first come across this movie then, dude?
Well, it's funny. I saw back when I was a kid, I didn't give a shit about what order I saw movies in. That's so changed for me. There are people who tell me that there's third movies and series that I should watch and just skip the first two. And I'm like, I won't even watch the third one. Cause I'm like, if you're telling me the first two are so bad that I shouldn't watch them at all and go right to the third, but I'm not going to watch the third one either because I have to watch the first two first. But when I was a kid, I didn't care. About the time that Maniac Cop 3 hit video, it was also hitting Showtime and those pay channels, and I'm fairly certain the first one I saw was 3. Today was the first time I ever saw part 2, so believe it or not.
Wow. Okay.
But the first one I ever owned was part 1, but the first one I ever saw was part 3. And I actually I think I might have even watched it back to back with that other film, Psycho Cop.
Right. Okay.
And thought to myself, this is such a crazy fucking movie, And of course, comparing it now that I've seen the second one compared to the third one, the second one is so much better.
Well, they each have their own distinct flavor, I feel.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that the first two are more based around the story of Matt Cordell and the first one's really just about him killing people. I almost kind of wonder if the whole undead cop whatever thing. Well, actually, I guess technically in the first one he's not undead, but the whole idea of this cop, going rogue and killing people, was sort of the story in and of itself. But then as the movies progress, he becomes more and more of this a Jason or Michael Myers type character, where instead of wearing a mask, he just has scars all over his face,
Yeah, they sort of imbue him with a bit of character so that the second and third ones have more going on than just a Jason or a Michael Myers. But
right.
The first one, it's basically what if Dirty Harry was put in prison with all the people he's put away.
Right.
They enact their revenge, and then he comes back to life, sort of, walks out of the morgue, and then begins to take his revenge on the city, because he deems that City Hall and the filthy pen pushers up at City Hall have screwed him over by making an example of him and putting him in prison with all those guys. So he goes around killing the innocent. That's the sort of twist in the first one. And
he's a supernatural cop on the edge.
Yeah, exactly. By sort of if only he had been partnered up with Danny Glover, then none of this would ever have happened.
Exactly. But he's getting too old for this shit. So.
Right, exactly. But no, so he sort of goes about killing people, and you get some hilariously over the top death scenes. The first one's definitely a sort of slasher that then morphs into action.
Right.
And then two is definitely an action film through and through, really.
2 is a straight-up action film, without a doubt.
And then 3 is sort of an action, drama, comedy, horror. 3's really... It almost has an Evil Dead trajectory in terms of, first one's the most serious, second one's a bit goofy, and the third one, all bets are off. It kind of has that that trajectory. And obviously, of course, Raimi and Campbell and John Cameron, who is the assistant director on parts 2 and 3, have all sort of worked together. So there's that thread. Obviously, when Lustig became a DVD and Blu-ray producer, he put out a lot of the Campbell stuff with Anchor Bay before he then moved over to Blue Underground. And so there is a big connection with that, as well as obviously the connection with the New York filmmakers of himself and Cohen and Glickenhaus.
And let's not forget, the classic Raimi cameos in 1 and 3.
Right, you've got Sam in 1.
And Ted in 3.
And Ted in 3. Now, Sam is listed as appearing in 2, but he doesn't. That must be cutting room floor stuff.
It's got to be.
But yeah, it was meant to be. I mean, there were 3 Raimi brothers, so they could have done it. They could have had
Sam, how perfect would that have been?
Sam, Ted, and Ivan, but they didn't go that whole way. But it's nice to see them pop up anyway, even if Campbell decides at the beginning of part 2 to bow out.
Well, I mean, but it still worked, though. It actually worked kind of perfect for how they did the film, because they end up killing him off fairly early in the second, and it's a huge shock. Like, you don't see it coming whatsoever.
Right, and it works because they obviously kill. I'm not going to say spoilers, although there it is, spoilers, but they kill Tom Atkins off in the first one halfway through as well. So let's talk a bit about that, because sort of the first one has this weird thing where who's the hero, who's the villain, what's going on exactly, because part of you can kind of side with Zadar, part of you is obviously siding with Campbell, part of you is siding with Atkins, but they've all got things about them that's a little off, right?
Right.
Because obviously Zadar is an undead cop, so that's a little off. Who kills people like
well, I mean, like
jazz trombone players coming out of the bitter end in the village.
I mean, you can sort of appreciate the insanity of Matt Cordell. Like you can understand what's happening, especially once his story starts to become revealed, and that he was set up by the cops and this, that, and the other. And I mean, that more comes out in the second film, but in the first film, like, you just know that that he was dead, and that he turned out to not actually be dead, but then he came back, and now he's killing people. So you can kind of understand and sympathize with the character a little bit, although he is still flat out killing people. So, I mean, you shouldn't be sympathizing too much with him. But then you really have to sympathize with Campbell's character, because he's the one who they're pinning all the blame on, because by chance, all of the evidence that McCrae has gathered so far, I mean, it fits right in with what's happening with Bruce Campbell's character.
Well, because he's cheating on his wife with Lorraine Landon, the enormously haired Lorraine Landon. And
just giant hair.
Yeah, and she leaves the motel. His wife catches him at it, because his wife's all scared that he's the maniac cop.
Right.
And goes to the motel where they're having nookie, and on her way out gets caught by the maniac cop and killed. What's interesting about the 3 movies is that it is constantly hinted at that the maniac cop has cogent thought, like is actually putting together plots and actually framing people and actually doing that. He's not just a mindless killing machine, but also that he has some kind of inside sway and is able to do all this stuff. Yet only in the first one is it vaguely explained, which is that he has that girlfriend who works in the records department.
Yeah.
And that's how he was able to frame Campbell or something, which is all a bit odd. But
it's sort of a weird. Matt Cordell, like the character, it's interesting. Like, he's almost has a weird sort of Frankenstein, like Frankenstein's monster sort of vibe to him, where where like he's doing it, he wants some semblance of acceptance and love and whatever, but he's still just, but unlike Frankenstein's monsters, he's just murdering the shit out of people. Yeah,
and even when it comes to the handicapped lady who he's, dating, or who is doting on him, let's say, he, throws her out of a window. Like, at a certain point, he's sort of given up on everybody. So the love isn't returned in that respect. But it's just, the first one is a really, really odd film. I mean, to sell the whole City Hall thing, you don't really see enough of City Hall. You see the police commissioner, obviously Richard Roundtree, in a couple of scenes, but you don't see anything higher up than that. No. You see the police captain, that really gravelly voiced guy, whose name I'm going to forget now, but the one who talks like this. He's amazing. The bullet-headed, like, insanely... he's meant to be a red herring, basically, for who might be the maniac cop, I guess.
Right.
His name is it William Smith?
William Smith, yeah.
Yeah. Who talk like this. listen here. He says, anyway, yeah, he's great, but you don't really sort of get a vibe too much of what they did to him. There's that flashback sequence that makes its annoying presence felt in all three movies, which is one of the most clunky space fillers of all time.
Well, yeah. Well, they... Man, like, flashbacks are the name of the game in this fucking series. You know, like all three movies have ridiculous flashbacks. In all three movies, there's the same ridiculous flashback, at least one of them.
Right.
And they all have the flashback of his murder. Murder, whatever you want to call it, in the prison, which of course like makes me wonder if like Robert Z'Dar signed a contract that said like his ass has to be exposed in all three of the movies, or else he's not doing it.
Right, exactly. I want my ass, goddammit! I want it there. I'm on the big screen.
If you get to see my face, you got to see my ass.
That's the Z'Dar pledge. If you enter his home in Hollywood, he says. Right, you've seen my face, now see my ass.
You know, he's got all these pictures of himself on his walls, and next to each picture is a picture of his ass.
And he just walks along going, my face, my ass, my face, my ass. For hours it goes on. People are looking really confused. He goes, now, do you want some cake? And that's what it's like, an afternoon round Z'Dar's house.
Oh, man. I wish I could go there.
I want to go to there.
I want to go to there.
But, so you have that. You have the slasher elements. You have the red herring, like, who is really the maniac cop. You have that hilarious montage of the vox pops of the people on the street. You know, cops like killing people. That's why they're cops. That guy, he's amazing. Where you know, people are all afraid. You have the woman who obviously shoots the guy in the face because she thinks he's the maniac cop, which is fun. So it's sort of trying to do a lot of things. I mean, it's typical. The first one's a typical Larry Cohen picture, to be honest, considering it has, like, everybody in the script is a character, right? Mm-hmm. There isn't just, like, bland bureaucrat number one. Right, you know, it's Richard fucking Roundtree playing the chief of police. You know, it's like the police commissioner. He's like, it's a big deal. It's like a character. You know, everyone is well written. Everyone has their part. People get killed off. You don't expect to get killed off. You know, Bruce Campbell becomes the leading guy, even though he certainly doesn't start off the story that way, and spends a lot of the film in prison.
Yeah, I was going to say he's barely in the first act, and then from the time he's brought in, he spends most of that time in the prison. So it's almost like there is no main character, because it starts off as McCrae, you know, Atkins, and then it becomes Bruce Campbell briefly. Then it's almost like the main character becomes the idea of Matt Cordell. Yeah. You know, but even then they switch it over to Teresa or Terry, whatever, the chick who Bruce Campbell was sleeping with.
Big hair.
Yeah, big hair. You know, and it's like there's never a main character, which is actually kind of the thing I like the most about the first movie.
Yeah,
is that there's almost no central character. It feels like a play.
But it feels like it progresses organically.
Right, exactly. Nothing's forced.
Rather than, oh shit, we got to keep this guy alive, or rather than, how do we build up to the hero moment where they face off and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, well, no, he attacks the police station. Atkins physically wouldn't be any match for him. Atkins has got to die. Move on to the next bit. It's almost like Cohen just wrote this one as a stream of consciousness, and wherever it took him,
right,
that's where it went. And it's, you know, it's really brave, and it helps, I guess, to get a better name cast for a low budget movie like this, because you're not paying someone like Tom Atkins for the whole fucking movie. You know what I mean? Right. You can, like, Richard Roundtree was paid for, I think, 2 days or 3 days, and they actually filmed his bit in a day and a half. So, I mean, if you've got a star like Roundtree coming in for a day and a half, and you're only actually paying him, like, whatever, scale for 3 days or whatever, that's, that's the way you get a starry cast, but keep your budget down. Right. And he does a very similar thing in the third one, not so much in the second one, but in the third one, there's that whole Paul Gleason, Robert Forster moment where you're like, what the fuck? Like, what are they doing in this movie out of nowhere?
Right. Actually, yeah, exactly. When we have that moment, first off, anytime Robert Forster's in a film, I get excited and immediately start looking forward to when he shows up.
Right.
And then he shows up and he's so over the top.
It's incredible.
Because you're not really used to the idea of this over the top Robert Forster. He generally plays more subdued characters.
Right.
And he is so ridiculous in this that you can't help. And then of course he's standing right next to Paul Gleason, who of course everybody loves as the principal in Breakfast Club, for those of us who are saying, who's this Paul Gleason guy?
Yeah, or Clarence Beeks from Trading Places.
Exactly. You've seen him do over the top, and he's not really doing over the top. He's doing sort of
sleazy attorney or something.
Right. He was really playing up the sleazy attorney factor. And the two of them together talking about basically pulling the plug on. This is the second. Yeah. Pulling the plug on the female character.
We'll get there. Yeah.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. I love it.
It's fantastic. One of my favorite scenes. But I think it's a really smart play as far as Lustig is concerned. He fills out the cast with friends of his and, on the crew. The crew often double as actors. There's 2 or 3 occasions in the trilogy where stuntmen actually just play parts in the film because they've then got to do a stunt. In fact, the 2 in the first movie is the guy who gets stopped at the lights, slashed about the neck and thrown on the front of the car. He has a whole speaking part, but he's actually just a stunt guy. Right. And then the cop at the end who is driving Lorraine Landon's character to the warehouse is another stunt guy. And he has a whole speaking part. So they're sort of very savvy filmmaking, and they went to New York, I think, only for 3 days or 4 days and got some helicopter footage, the footage of the St. Patrick's Day parade and a couple of the death scenes. And then the rest is all done in L.A., and although that becomes very apparent by the third one, in fact, the third one is just set in L.A. You can't even pretend it's in New York at all. But the first 2 at least maintain the idea of being New York films by judicious use of, in most cases, guerrilla style, shot at night, without a permit type stuff on New York streets.
Right. It's awesome.
And a relative star-making performance for Zadar and Campbell. And an unusual leading role for Atkins, to be fair. He doesn't have too many movies where he's the lead. Okay, first of all, where do you rank it in horror flicks? Do you at all rank it? Do you ever consider it?
It would never make my top 10, if that's what you're asking. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it necessarily ranks. I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's not a movie I dislike, but at the same time, it's more of a 3 out of 5 than a 4.5 out of 5. So, I mean, it might make my top 50, but it wouldn't necessarily make my top 20.
Right. I mean, you see, for me, in the 90s and also in the early millennium, along with stuff like Sundown and Moontrap and Mind Warp, it was one of the few films you could see Campbell in doing something substantial. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I watched it a ton when I was first getting into Campbell's stuff. Of course, I didn't have Briscoe County out in the UK at all, so I didn't get to see him doing it every week on television. Yeah, so I kind of like it, but I'm with you. I don't really rank it on any lists.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one. I mean, I love Coen, Lustig, Glickenhaus movies anyway, especially since moving to New York. They're just really great. And I love the way... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the funny thing is that there was actually a brief moment in time when I was completely obsessed with this series, and I would watch 1 and 3, obviously, because for some reason, I could never find part 2 anywhere. Right. Because obviously, like, these movies I only own on VHS. So I've owned 1 forever, and then I recently bought 3. And, like, I would catch 3 on TV all the time, but I never saw 2 ever. But I was completely obsessed with the movies for a very short period of time, back when I was just getting into, like, the horror and action sort of film. And there was definitely a time when I would suggest people watch this, and I would always say, and I always pair it with, like I said before, Psycho Cop. I'd say watch the two of them together. It's such a great combination. But that was before I really delved into film and started getting really obsessed with everything. And at this point, I wouldn't even say, it wouldn't even really rank. But again, not to say don't watch it, just to say it's not the best out there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it fits. When I first watched it, I watched it for Campbell. Now when I watch it, it's more that it fits into, obviously, the Lustig thing, but also the Lustig, Cohen, and Glickenhaus thing. You've got... with Cohen, you've got things like God Told Me To, his New York movie. You've got Maniac Cop. You've got Maniac. You've got Vigilante. You've got Glickenhaus's Shakedown or Blue Jean Cop and The Exterminator. And when you kind of put all those movies together, those kind of exploitation B movies that were made in the 80s and 90s in New York, obviously the first half of Jackie Chan's The Protector as well, they all have a very similar, very pleasing vibe to them, and that's now how I watch them. I kind of watch them more as a New York movie, because the other thing that this series has, although like I said, it's not exclusively filmed in New York, is that Maniac Cop. When was the last time you saw a horror movie? And I'm not really counting I Am Legend, but a horror movie filmed in New York, like a slasher movie in New York. It just doesn't really happen. So to me, that's very cool as well. Like, I like that.
It also makes it that much more frightening, because when you think about it, like a slasher film set in New York makes no sense. There's too many people, there's too many cops, there's too many people who can get in the way of the killer doing what he's supposed to be doing. Right. So when you get these movies, especially like Maniac, which is so fucking just dirty, and you get these people who are getting away with it, it makes it that much more. It makes that much more of a dent on your psyche.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that it's also got that aspect of a monster movie in New York as well.
Right.
Obviously that's the other one I didn't mention, but you've got Q, the Winged Serpent, which is obviously a Larry Cohen movie that fits in. Obviously, Larry Cohen's been making movies since the 70s, and Bone and Black Caesar and things like that. But in terms of B-movie horror and or monster movies made in New York, these guys, there's really no one else doing it after this.
Right.
That utilizes also that level of actors, that level of stars. You think of the people who are in, you've got Sam Elliott and Peter Weller in Blue Jean Cop. You've got, obviously Ginty and James in Exterminator and stuff like that. And Christopher George, of course. And so you've just got some really good people being utilized, and it's just a fun little... If you're listening to this and you've not kind of got into those kind of New York movies of the 80s and 90s, really, back when 42nd Street was 42nd Street, it's really time to check those out, definitely. And hopefully this show does that for you.
Before the Disneyfication of Times Square.
Right, yeah. Before they went, no more hookers, no more pimps, no more grindhouse movie theaters. What I don't understand is I understand the no more... like pimps, violence, whatever, right?
Sure.
I don't fully understand the no more hookers thing, but okay, fine, no more hookers. Yeah. But what I don't understand is why then tear down the grindhouses and build like a B.B. King restaurant? Like, I don't understand. The grindhouses that were apparently like packed from morning to night with people spending money. But no, we're going to tear those down and make a BB King restaurant where maybe some tourists go to a gospel brunch occasionally. You know what I mean?
Look. Guy Fieri needs a restaurant. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Exactly. So let's have a few more emails, dude, before we go on to Maniac Cop 2. How does that sound?
Do it.
Okay.
Here comes the postman. I wonder what he has for me. There's something in his big brown sack. I wonder what could it be.
This one's from Robert Long. Robert Long from Baltimore. What up, the Baltimore peeps? And he first contacted me way back when we were doing the Don Dola episodes to say, finally, here is a podcast not taking the piss out of Don's films, but actually kind of watching them with some kind of respect. Anyway, he writes, Dear After Movie Diner, congrats on reaching 100 episodes. That is a fantastic achievement. Well, steady on, Robert. You haven't heard this episode yet. It has been a sheer delight listening to John Cross and his co-hosts discussing all types of films, be they independents or blockbusters. The in-depth, intelligent banter is always full of enthusiasm. I think I can speak for the Baltimore area filmmakers when I say that we do indeed love your show and look forward to the next 100. Respectively, Robert Long. Well, thanks ever so much, Robert. It's a fantastic email. What up, the Baltimore peeps? And we'll need to do another.
He's going to change his mind when he hears this one.
Yeah, exactly.
No intelligent banter happening this time around.
No, I kind of feel like we've both sort of hit each other at that kind of sleepy part of the afternoon where normally you and I would be kind of resting off a chocolate binge or something.
Right.
Anyway, got another message from Andrew Buckley. What up, Buckers? He writes, Dear John, the After Movie Diner is one of the most well put together podcasts. Oh dear, yes. I have had the pleasure of listening to. John has entertainment creativity seeping from every pore. I'd admit that, that's some sort of disease I have, not create. Anyway, I'll admit that aside from the interviews and discussions, the comedic content is my favourite piece. From someone who loves British comedy, to find British wit of this calibre on this side of the pond is a true delight and a great inspiration to me personally. Lots of love to John, Dory, and all his wonderful guests and co-hosts. Keep up the great work. Cheers, Andrew. Well, thanks ever so much, Buckers, and big love to you and Nadia as well. Thanks for all the support.
I love the comment. It's one of the best put together podcasts, because that's sort of like saying she's really that's sort of like describing a woman by saying she has a really good personality.
Yeah, the content is for shit, but it's put together so
It's
well.
really well put together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got another voicemail now from Mark Burns. If you've got the tapes ready, have you?
Yes, boss.
Put it on, man. Put it on. Can't get the staff.
Hey, congratulations, John Cross, and all the guests at the After Movie Diner. This is Mark Burns calling from a very wet and rainy Bolton in Lancashire, England. Just want to say, well done. Congratulations once again for reaching 100 episodes. It's quite an achievement, and I certainly hope there will be another 100 episodes in the very near future. Listen to the show all the time, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. I also want to say, have a very happy Halloween. Thanks once again, John. Love the show.
And one last one before we crack on to Maniac Cop 2. We've got Mr. Matt Payne. What up, Matt Payne?
You know what my prediction for this email is?
What?
Pain.
And we've also, obviously, he is the king of the endless pork. Matt Payne, king of the endless pork. Currently penning his new autobiography, 50 Shades of Pork. So he says to Professor Cross, many congrats and more on 100 episodes of the After Movie Diner. I'm so glad it has been such a success in many ways. And again, thanks for letting me be part of the now classic 40th episode with Sir Mo Porn. It was indeed an honour. And here's to another 100 episodes in the future. Cheers and rock on always. Endless pork rules the world. And in Matt Payne's honour, I am currently dunking my balls in bacon. What about you, Mo?
I am currently marinating.
Good, excellent. And was the 40th episode now classic? Has it become a classic?
No.
No.
Time will tell, but it hasn't yet.
60 episodes ago, we came so close.
We came so close. That was the one where we talked about
From Beyond, Reanimator,
Castle
Castle Freak. And I interviewed Barbara Crampton, man.
Oh, so maybe, I don't know. So maybe
her bit of it.
Okay, so maybe her bit's classic. But I know that I certainly didn't contribute anything positive to that episode.
Oh, not at all, Mo, not at all. I'm sure it was fantastic. I like the way that Matt Payne says, I'm so glad it's been a success in many ways.
In many ways.
Not always.
But such a failure in many others.
In many ways, it's successful. Like, you've got one person to listen to it more than once. But
you're getting 3 downloads a week. Yeah, congratulations.
Right. No, it is fantastic how you can make something seem so much more important than it actually is. All right.
What does that say about me, man? I like... The show I've been doing for like 3 years now is only in like 40 or 50 episodes.
It says that you have far too many hiatus.
Hiati? Yeah.
Hiati, is it? Hiatus.
I would say hiati, yeah. Sounds fancy.
Yeah. I have had way too many hiati.
Right.
I can't move for hiati in the winter months. Crowding my apartment and covering me in sick. Okay, so we're going to move on to Maniac Cop 2, or as I like to call it, the one with the rap.
You have the right to remain silent.
He's still alive.
Forever. Again.
You can't kill the dead. Why has this been kept from the public and the press?
When this leaks out, people are not going to want to pick up the phone and dial 911. We're looking at a bloodbath here. Well, that's not too serious, fella.
I touched the pen, and I was back there again with the dead.
What's he want? I don't know.
What'd you see?
Sean, I saw Matt Cordell.
He had a reason for coming here. He's got a reason for everything he does.
Did you ever see anything so nasty?
Cordell's gonna pay you a visit, and you'll see him.
It must be visiting hours, cause my friend is back! We're getting stronger, but we got ourselves a leader.
All the cops in the world can't stop Cordell. You murdered him. You're pushing me too far.
Maniac Cop 2. You'll be screaming blue murder.
And did you want to give us the rundown, sir, for Maniac Cop 2? Because even though I just watched this last night, I've forgotten.
We forgot what it's about.
Yeah. There's a car chase. That's what I remember.
Yeah, there's a car chase. Here, I'll read the ridiculous thing
synopsis
on IMDb.
Oh,
it says a supernatural maniac killer cop teams up with the Times Square serial killer.
Yeah,
that's all it says.
Even though he doesn't actually kill anyone in Times Square,
right?
Nudie club near Times Square,
sure,
allegedly, but not actually in Times Square. Neither do they ever reference him as the Times Square killer, do they, in the movie?
No, they never do. They never really give him much of a name. In fact, it's not until he says his name that I even realize who he's supposed to be.
You're watching the whole movie, you're like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah, I'm like, who
maniac?
is this Beardo? Like, in my notes, I seriously call him Beardo every time I reference him.
Yeah.
Until he says his name. And I'm like, oh, that's Turkel. That makes sense.
But he is Leo Rossi, which
is such a weird, such weird casting.
Right.
You know, like
I like the way that he has like the medieval blacked up teeth for no reason.
See, I don't know. I always just assumed that meant like that these guys were ahead of their times and they realized that that's what happens when you smoke too much meth.
Oh, I see. Okay,
I don't know, but yeah,
the other dude at the beginning of 2 with the scratch cards in the that's the beginning of 2, right? With the scratch cards in the bodega. Mm-hmm. He's also got like wizened, black and shitty teeth. It's almost like Lustig.
I think his might be natural.
Yeah, his might be natural because his face is also covered in filthy scars. Right. But it's almost like Lustig has sort of made New York this almost sulfur-ridden medieval pit of despair.
Wait, hold on. It's not?
Yeah, right, exactly. that everyone in New York who isn't a policeman or an attorney is in fact just a kind of grubby, semen-stained raincoat wearing like serial killer and or drug addict.
And they all like love each other.
Yeah, right. They all hang out and have parties.
Right. That's what it seems like, you know.
Yeah, well, they all spend a lot of time in strip clubs, even though none of them seemingly have any way to pay to get in. Apparently, back then, you could just walk into strip clubs and pay the strippers in beard hair, phlegm, and nonchalance.
Oh man, I wish I could do that today.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know, I have plenty of that stuff. I don't know what I don't have is money.
Right. So you're still sadly without your place at the regular stripper table. But I love that later on when they go into the stripper club in couples, which seems to be like the most ridiculous cover ID ever.
Right.
That Robert Davi says, well, we'll go into the strip clubs as couples, so you have to come along. I'm like, do couples go to strip clubs a lot? Or is it dirty old men?
Well, let's see. I mean, I can't say that I've been to strip clubs too many times, but I have seen a grand total of maybe 3 women,
right,
who weren't performing.
Right. So in this one, Maniac Cop comes back to life again, crawls out of the water, and has upgraded his weaponry. He now has this fancy new baton that he can like flap about with this rope attachment thing.
Right.
And we first see him appear in this bodega where a guy humorously is trying to rob it, but because he doesn't have any money, he's getting the clerk to like scratch off all these scratch cards.
And the best part is that he's like, well, what robber would ever do this? Where if he goes, I don't have the code to get into the safe. He's like, okay, well, who does? The manager. When's he coming? Oh, he'll be here at 6:30. Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What?
Well, because so little is going on and the police are so inept in these films that robbers can hang around in bodegas with sawn-off shotguns for 4 hours.
Hours,
yeah. Scratching off cards. Anyway, they win $5,000, but then Maniac Cop shows up, shoots. Does he shoot the clerk or does the guy?
No. He smacks the baddie down to the ground, and then the clerk has which with probably one of the best lines in the movie starts talking about how because the other guys hasn't officially won it, I guess he won it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. The tables turned. He sounded like, I guess this is my $5,000.
I guess I won it.
I won it.
He goes, I won it.
Juanita, I have won.
So Maniac Cop shoots him. And then proceeds to hand the shotgun back to the guy who was holding up the place and basically forces him out the door, so to speak, and where he gets a little bit of death by cop action.
Which is fantastic because they see him and instead of, I don't know, capping his knees or shooting him in the shoulder.
Lethal force immediately.
Yeah, 15 cops unload machine gun fire and shotgun blasts into this one dude who's staggering out completely bewildered, going, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, he's going, I didn't do this.
And considering he hasn't got the $5,000 yet, apart from like pocketing a packet of cookies, he's not actually done anything wrong.
He's essentially done, I don't know, like 6th-degree larceny,
right?
Something just like some nothing crime.
Yeah, exactly. He stood in a shop with a gun for a moment,
right?
And then so they unleash onto him. Forcing him back through the window of the shop by the power of air ramping, I would imagine, but by the power of bullets. And so begins Maniac Cop 2's action vibe, which kind of continues all the way through. We meet Claudia Christian, who plays Dr. Susan Riley, who is the shrink. As we have just met Robert Davi, Detective Sean McKinney, and they couldn't have got a more Irish-looking actor to play. Because if Robert Davi screams anything, it's Irish. You know what I mean? With his black hair and Italian-American accent.
Because when you think of Robert Davi, you don't think of, The Goonies, where he plays an Italian opera singing gangster,
right?
Or any of the other number of movies where he plays an Italian gangster,
right?
Because I don't know, maybe because he's Italian,
yeah, or the one Bond movie where they're like Italians are like Mexicans, right?
Right,
and he plays Sanchez. But apart from that, I'm not seeing Detective Sean McKinney. Hanging out at the local Irish bar listening to fiddle music. I'm not. But anyway, we see him cap a mother in one of the most ridiculously outlandish cop deaths ever because for some reason a guy's thrown out of a top window, crashes down a fire escape, landing on outside a dumpster, and as he does, Davi shoots him.
Right.
Because he couldn't have gone over there and just like picked him up and gone, he probably can't walk now, having been blown out of a window. No, Davi takes no prisoners, just shoots.
And I love how the other cops are like, "Oh, it's a good thing you were back here because we were covering the front." It's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, like, it's totally ridiculous. And
it's just lines that didn't need to be said. It was just like obvious.
Well, no, it's so that Davi can have the quip. Well, that's why I was waiting back here. That's why it's a setup for a quip rather than actually any point to it. And let's be fair, none of these movies have any point to them.
True.
Trying to find point lurking amongst Maniac Cop 2 and 3 is pretty pointless. Davi is a cop that has been involved in a shooting. One imagines not his first, and he has to go and see Claudia Christian, who is apparently the psychologist for the station, but then also weirdly just starts to launch her own investigation into Matt Cordell out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like he's briefly mentioned once, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. I should research that thoroughly."
Yes, indeed. And then you have Michael Lerner, who's amazing as the guy from City Hall. I love him in this movie. He's incredible.
I love Michael Lerner, period. I think he's fantastic. But yeah, he's so good in this, like so sleazy. It's great.
Right, and smoking his pipe and going, well, no, we shouldn't deal with that. No, let's not even look at that. No, don't even say it. And all that. And then you've got, of course, Charles Napier shows up as a TV host in a TV show that appears to have been filmed in a killer's basement. Like, that's what the TV show looks like.
Yeah. What was it called again? It was like criminals on the loose or something like that.
Here are the criminals that are on the loose in your city tonight.
Right. If you find them, let somebody know.
There's Jeff, the rapist.
But so Susan goes on to the show to talk about.
Well, she gate crashes the show,
right? Well, no, I think she was supposed to be on for something. But she comes on and basically just like immediately goes into the whole Matt Cordell's thing.
But she actually says, shut up about the guy who's been killing strippers. Nobody gives a fuck. Like, what about this other guy who's a zombie cop? And everyone's like, what?
What?
Great way to fucking get everyone panicked about policemen again.
And actually, that's one of my favorite lines in the movie, too, is Napier's line at the end of his show. It's like, you can't con Edison.
Yeah, right. What a great TV show. If only we still had it around.
Right.
So there's your usual mix of Maniac Cop coming after Davi and Christian, Maniac Cop siding with Hairy Dude for reasons not really explained at all.
Not explained at all.
Other than Hairy Dude has some rather neat-looking digs underneath a bridge somewhere where Maniac Cop can sit down, reminisce, and
he's
flashback.
He's quite literally a troll under a bridge.
Oh, yeah, quite literally. Yeah. And he has some moralistic reason for doing what he's doing. He's like, he doesn't understand why these talented ladies are stripping for money, basically.
Yeah. So let's just kill them.
Yeah, right. I don't know, give them some money to join a typing pool or something? Nah, let's kill them.
Just gonna murder them.
Fucking murder them. It was their fault. They shouldn't have been dancing. They could have been dancing on Broadway, but no, they chose to take their tits out. Kill them for tits. You've really got to hate tits if you're killing strippers. That's what my feeling is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what kind of man?
Yeah.
What kind of bearded man?
I know, right? It's so annoying that he has a beard.
Real manly man type is killing strippers because they're getting their tits out. That makes no sense whatsoever.
It really makes little to no sense. And so they kind of join up. Claudia Christian gets handcuffed to the side of a car that, even though all he did was take the handbrake off, seems to roll for ages, for miles.
That's such a great stunt, though.
Oh, it's a phenomenal stunt, but I mean, it makes no sense considering all he did was take the brake off.
Right.
The parking brake.
Right.
And it rolled down a hill onto a freeway, and then rolled round the freeway at high speed, which it wouldn't do.
I mean, literally all she had to do is, as soon as he took the handbrake off, she could have just curbed the wheel and the thing would have stopped immediately.
Right, exactly. Or, I don't know, curbed it into another car and stopped it dead or something like that.
Right.
At which point she would have been like, ow. And then Cordell would have come over and gone, my face, my ass. Murdered her with his ass. With a dagger.
My face. Now my ass.
With a dagger clenched between the ass.
Well, he does shit daggers.
He does. Now, I know the third one, there's some like weirdly inventive sort of Halloween 2 inspired hospital kills. But are there any sort of inventive kills in this second one, or is it all just blades and stuff?
I think it's all just blades. I mean, no. That's
the way you said it was so fantastic. I think it's all just blades.
That's not true, though. At the end, there are some really incredible kills in the prison after they Molotov cocktail him.
Right.
He's just walking around, just for minutes. Just on fire, and like everybody he touched just becomes engulfed in flames, and like he's throwing people up onto the second floor of like the prison wing, and then he throws the dude and himself, I believe, out of the window in the prison, and of course because it's a prison. He just blows all the rock out, and it's crazy. It's such a crazy, stupid stunt, but awesome at the same time. I mean, like, the amount of time that stunt guy must have spent on fire to catch those couple of minutes of film.
Oh, yeah, because you can only...
incredible.
William Lustig was saying in a Q&A that he did at the Draft House that you can only set someone on fire for sort of 20, 25 seconds at a time. And, yeah, you're right. The last 5 minutes, the guy is on fire. So they must have done at least 8 or 9 burns, I would imagine. And as if it wasn't hilarious enough that he's marching around Frankenstein, like throwing people against walls and killing people while also
on fire,
while also having flashbacks, while also being on fire. Like you say, the end of it, he just leans slightly up against the wall of a fucking prison made out of breeze blocks, and it all just gives way, and he falls out. Yeah, which is fantastic. And he then falls down into a van, which then blows up.
I love it.
It's for the action alone, this film is awesome.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't have any of the plot of 1 or 3, and it doesn't really have the but it has some really fun characters. Davi's great. Doyle is great. You have Lorene Landon's final moments where she gets to wield a chainsaw.
I was making the comment on Facebook after I saw that isn't it just convenient how in every movie, whenever anybody finds a chainsaw, it happens to have gas in it.
Yeah,
you know, it's not. And here's the thing: she didn't just find that chainsaw in the back of some dude's truck. She grabbed it off of a store display in a place. Like it was inside the store. Like there's no way it would have had any kind of gas in it, but it did. Because of movie magic.
But it did. Maybe the store owner was planning to, I don't know, hack up their 1,000th customer or something.
Oh.
Maybe that was, you're our 100,000th customer. Well done. Yeah, right. I've had it with a stinking chainsaw shop. Nobody ever comes in.
And you know what? I gotta say, of the three, I think I enjoyed 2 the most. I mean, now that may have been because it's the most action oriented. It may be because it's the one that has the most breasts in it.
I'm betting the second reason.
Right. No, I mean, well, I'm not subtle.
No.
Anyway, but I think because of all that, I mean, it has, and the 5 minutes of a guy on fucking fire.
Right. Which has to have been, although Glickenhaus didn't produce this, I like to believe Glickenhaus suggested that for the first movie, but they just couldn't afford it. And when Lustig came back to do the second movie, he was like, yeah, we need to have more dudes on fire.
Right, exactly.
Because it's a Glickenhaus move. It's what Glickenhaus would do.
Totally.
He would explode something or have it on fire. So... It always just makes me think of that Big Train sketch with Simon Pegg, where he's like, no, what you've done there is you've gone on fire. Have you ever seen that sketch?
No, I don't think I have.
He's trying to teach his kid to ride a bike, and they're on like a little tricycle with training wheels, and he's pushing along, and the kid keeps like falling over or rolling down a hill or whatever. And at one point, just because it's a surreal sketch show, it rolls all the way along, falls over, and then ignites. And Simon Pegg just says the line, no, what you've done there is you've gone on fire. And it always just makes me laugh. And makes me think at the end of Maniac Cop 2. No, what you've done there is you've gone on fire.
This is also the one where he literally walks into a police station and just murders everyone.
Yes.
Any movie where a bad guy walks into a police station and literally murders every single person in it is okay in my book.
Well, he does it. He does it in 1 and 2. But in 2, we get to see him literally walking through. Like in 2, he's forgotten that he can actually move his hand and open doors. He just doesn't bother. He walks through walls.
Yeah.
And there's this amazing scene where he's walking through the police station, literally through the police station, glass, wood, and everything flying everywhere, machine gunning people down. That's part 2, right?
Yeah, that's part 2. Yeah, and the way he makes himself known in the police station is brilliant. It's probably one of my favorite reveals ever.
Right.
They're all in the firing range. So keep in mind, this is one man standing on the wrong end of a firing range, like in the darkness back there, because apparently there's no lights in this firing range, and every single person who's in front of him has a gun, obviously, because they're practicing their shots. He shoots every single one of them before any one of them realizes where the gunfire is coming from and can stop him.
Except that he can't be killed by ordinary bullets.
But that's not the point. My point is like, even if it was just a normal guy standing in the back end, like he managed to kill off every single person in that line before any of them had a chance to fire a bullet back at him.
Yeah, he's that good.
Just brilliant.
Yeah. And because he was meant to be like the Dirty Harry of his day, he's got a perfect shot throughout all 3 movies every time.
Right.
There's a great bit in the 3rd movie where he flings someone up into the air and then just shoots him right through the chest. Which is great. And in fact, although they're obviously like portrayed as horror, this has just phenomenal gore action at its finest, really.
Yeah.
And it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous to the extreme, which is why I don't believe Glickenhaus wasn't on the set of 2. I mean, because Glickenhaus, for anyone who's seen, Jackie Chan's The Protector or Shakedown or those movies, or The Exterminator even, Glickenhaus excels at that kind of lunatic, pointless action. Like in a Glickenhaus movie, you don't just get shot in the chest. That bullet propels you through a shop window, through to the back of the store, where you then explode. That's what happens.
You don't just walk around with a gun. You walk around with a flamethrower.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, very much inspired by that, and all the better for it, I think.
Right.
I love Part 2. I mean, there isn't one of these movies I don't like. I can't really sort of say that one is better than the other, to be honest. Me personally, because I like enough of all 3 films that they all kind of give me something worth watching.
Sure. Well, actually, I mean, given the fact that I just did it today, I mean, like, now, granted, when you start to, if you watch them all back to back, when you get to the third one, by the time you hit like the third act of the last movie, you're really kind of feeling it.
Right.
But I imagine if you were to watch these as an afternoon of movie watching with friends, I suspect it would be a very good time.
Oh yeah, completely. I think that's exactly how they should be viewed. I also think that there should be a fan edit done where you put all 3 films together, removing the flashbacks of all the lead-ins, so that it would literally go from him crawling out the water at the end of the first one to the beginning of one, so on and so forth, cutting out all the flashbacks and everything. They would be like 50 minutes apiece at that point.
Yeah. That was one of my biggest annoyances with 2, is when I popped it in, it starts 10 minutes. It shows the last 10 minutes of the first film. I'm like, did I put on the wrong movie?
Right.
So I ended up fast forwarding until I finally saw the title screen, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's really annoying.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is Part 1 has Part 1 and Part 2 have excessively long title sequences as well. Remove them out of the picture, and you could really probably put the content of these 3 films down into maybe a 2.5 hour movie.
I was just thinking that, about 2.5 hours,
which would be the greatest B movie of all time.
Shit, I might have to do that,
because it would actually. Like, if Tarantino thinks that he can make a good 2.5 hour Grindhouse movie, which he clearly can't.
Yeah.
The 3 Maniac cop films glued together and having certain bits removed, as I've explained, that would be one of the greatest 2.5 hour Grindhouse movie experiences of all time.
Yeah.
With one of the greatest casts of all time.
Without a doubt.
If you include everyone who's in all 3 movies. What do we think of Davi in the second one?
I like him. I like Robert Davi in anything. He's one of my favorite B-list actors. I mean, I think he's phenomenal.
Yeah, he is great. But apparently he wouldn't agree to do Maniac Cop 2 until they gave him the backstory that he had got his partner sort of killed by telling him not to go and see a psychiatrist, and then his partner was like, oh, I won't go see a psychiatrist, then I'll kill myself, which seems weird. But
that is a little odd, but hey, whatever.
And then apparently when he got that motivation, he was like, great, now I'll do your film. Time for another voicemail, I think. Klaus, will you put that bunny rabbit down? Come over here and get me the voicemail tapes.
Of course, master.
Hello there, John. Chris here from Waffle FM. 100 episodes, the After Movie Diner. Fantastic stuff. Congratulations. We all know what the secret is, of course, to longevity, productivity, creativity when it comes to the old podcasting game. It's having an awesome beard. Having a goddamn awesome beard. So yes, congratulations. Hope to hear 100 more. And I want to hear some more Cockney hijinks, some Cockney covers, specifically Cockney Collins. You know how I love the Cockney Collins, especially the Against All Odds cover. It's one of the greatest covers of all time. So yeah, and also what we need to do is we need to put pen to paper and write the Fun Loving Guys pilot and the JCVD Blue pilot. 2 shows that would take the world by storm. We just need to add some beards, and then it's perfect. So yes, keep up the good work, but more importantly, keep it killer, and keep it brutal.
Well, I mean, Maniac Cop 1 was a big success. It was a big success worldwide around, especially on video. It was huge on video. In fact, I first saw Maniac Cop before I even knew really who Campbell was, when I was about 16, I think, on a VHS at a mate's house just while a party was going on. It was just playing in the corner. And I remember just watching it and sitting there kind of glued to that. And everyone being like, hey, man, you should have a joint or drink something. And I'm like, no, I'm watching Maniac.
it's like, do you not see what is on this television right now? Actually, I don't have the same kind of story, but I didn't see any of the movies until after all three of them had already been on tape for a while. But yeah, I remember after seeing 3, I really looked for 1, so I could see where this whole craziness had started. And I think I might be the same, where I think I saw Maniac Cop 1 before I even really knew who Bruce Campbell was.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more points on 2, sir?
It's the one with boobs.
It's the one with boobs, and I'm not going to rate them because ultimately, as I said before, I like all 3 of them.
I'm not gonna. I mean,
but I think they should be watched back to back. I don't think you can just watch one and just be like, "Oh, that's enough." I think you need to get the full Maniac Cop fix.
Well, now that I've done it, I agree with that 100%. I think this is a trilogy that was made to be watched back to back.
Yeah, indeed.
On 1.5 speed.
Yes. Although there is. Does that mean like everyone speaks quicker?
Yeah, well, you know, how, like just the way you were telling me how you do that with podcasts sometimes, where you'll.
But do the voices go higher or stay at the same tone?
No, they go higher.
Okay,
it's very funny.
So the guy William Smith in the first one, it's like this. He's talking like this. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
It's
okay,
hilarious. Great. We didn't mention the rap.
We did. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. We didn't mention the rap.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's mention the rap now. The rap, Maniac Cop 2.
It is
fantastic.
A staple in the horror genre that you can tell a series is going on the decline when they feature a really shitty rap.
Decline or incline?
No, I'm going to stick with decline. And I think this is one of the few where, I mean, because obviously I think the third movie is the lesser of the 3.
Right.
And you can tell that they were desperately trying to get away from that rap when they produced the third movie, because they're like, shit, I can't believe we made that movie and then put a fucking rap over the closing credits.
Yeah, it ends really intensely with all that fighting and craziness, and then his funeral. Because of course, Matt Cordell, the one other thing we didn't mention, he gets pardoned by Doyle, which seems sort of a bit odd, as he's just gone through a police station and killed hundreds of people.
Everyone, yeah.
But okay,
he gets a hero's funeral, so to speak.
Yeah,
and and they bury him with honor.
Yeah,
and then this weird rap starts.
Comes on, which includes the greatest line in any rap ever. So I'm sorry, Jay-Z or 20 Pence or whatever your name is. Set him on fire, shoot him with an Uzi, but he'll show up in your jacuzzi.
Right.
Come on. None of those people like Puff Dragon and Big P and all those people, they never did anything quite that awesome, did they?
No, nobody in the history of rap has come up with a line nearly as good as that.
And if you want to see a graphical representation of that, you can now over at facebook.com/after.
Yeah, I appreciate you posting that to my wall, too.
Yeah. It's the greatest picture I've ever made.
It's brilliant.
Hands down. And you'd be surprised. I had to actually source that image of Ron Burgundy in the jacuzzi from my DVD, because nowhere online could I find just a stock photo of a man in a jacuzzi to use.
Weird.
But it did give me lots of masturbatory material looking for it. So that was good. But yes, the rap. Did you? Well, let's play some now. Let's sit back, Mo, and listen to the rap.
Yo, wait a minute.
just sneaking around the corner.
Here we go, here we go.
I think it's the Maniac.
Hold up. Watch out when you hear that sound, it means that the Maniac cop's around. Once upon a time, he was a super cop, but the bad guys fight to make him stop. They put him in prison where they tried to kill him, but he broke out, now he's the villain. Bullets won't hurt him, I know it sounds like jive, but we're not sure if he's dead or alive.
Set him on fire, I shoot him with an Uzi, but he'll show up in your jacuzzi. You can run him over, you can feed him poison, push him out a window and it only annoys him. You better believe me if they think I'm lying. When he show up, people start dying. He's out for vengeance and he can't be stopped. That's why they call him the Maniac Cop.
You have the right to remain silent.
What a great rap.
It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
I love it. I love it.
I do. I have to admit, I really love it. It's probably one of the better shitty raps out there. I mean, it's certainly better than the rap. Which Freddy movie had the rap at the end of it?
Oh fuck, I don't know. I know he did a video with the Fat Boys or whatever they were called.
Right. I don't know, but it's head and shoulders above the Freddy rap.
And sadly, there's no Robert Zadar music video with him like doing some ridiculous dance in police uniform while...
Not that there's not enough ridiculous video of Robert Zadar out there doing insane shit.
Right, exactly. As Philip O'Neill posted today.
Yeah, you pay him $10 and a chicken sandwich, and he will do just about anything.
I think it's 2 chicken sandwiches now. If you take a look at him, I think he is at least.
He stuffs one in each side of his face and saves them for winter.
What's funny is 2 gattos just down each fucking jaw. But the multi-jawed Robert Zadar. But what's hilarious is that obviously, like a lot of these guys, as he has aged, he has put on some weight, which has made his face even more ludicrous.
Right.
Which is tremendous.
Well, when I met him, because I met Robert Zadar once.
Yes, tell us that story, Mo.
When I met him, it was probably, I don't know, either late 90s, early 2000s. And he was probably in as good a shape as you could have expected him to be at that point. Like, he wasn't fat, but he wasn't like ripped. Like you know, like in the shower scene that they keep loving to play over and over again in these movies.
Right.
He's pretty fucking ripped, you know. And so he wasn't quite there. Like, he basically looked like one of those guys who had done a lot of weightlifting in his time, but had stopped.
Yeah,
you know, and
ate a lot of pie.
But the best part is that he had stubble. I mean, like, he had a very short beard, but because of his massive face, it looked like a full on, you know,
thicket,
like a full-on Dan Haggerty beard. Like, like it looked gigantic, and he is huge in real life.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to be like 6'4" or something like that, and his hands, like, anybody who knows me knows that I have a gigantic neck. My neck is ungodly big.
He's famous in Connecticut for having the biggest neck.
It's true. It's true.
In 3 counties.
and so there's a picture of me with his hands around my neck, and you could see that his fingers are like almost touching.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so that means like his fingers from middle finger to thumb and round again, like
44
diameter.
centimeters.
It's like
44 inches, rather. So.
It's like 25 inches, which is huge.
But yes, very big hands. You know what they say about Robert Zadars with big hands.
They wear big gloves.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so more emails then before we go on to part 3. We have got an email from Jennifer Hurren. who goes by Wolfie on Twitter. And she writes, congratulations on reaching 100 excellent episodes. Quite a trick to be so consistently entertaining for so many. Well done. Looking forward to many more brilliant episodes. And I have to say a big shout out to Jennifer, because she has supported the show in an insane amount on Cafe Press. We have a store, for people who don't know, over at www.cafepress.com/After Movie Diner, and she has bought quite a bit of merchandise, as well as buying my albums over at my musical albums over at the Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures website, which is miskplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com, and she went over there and cleaned up, bought all those albums as well. So I have to say a big thanks to Jennifer, and thank you very much for your email. So hopefully everyone will follow her in her footsteps and purchase some stuff to keep the show going. That would be very nice. So here's another email that we got from Chris Salt, who I looked into and internet stalked in a quite creepy way, and found out that he makes little Lego animations under the name of Oblong Productions or Films. Hi there, this is future myself here, and you can actually find Chris Salt over at oblongpictures.com. It's Oblong Pictures. Fantastic website, check it out. Anyway, he writes, Hi John, here's a quick email to say thanks for the podcast. I want to say long-time listener, first-time writer, but that would be a terrible lie. I only discovered After Movie Diner 3 weeks ago. I've literally listened to nothing else since, though, so I'm making up for it.
So he's managed to listen to 3 episodes.
Yeah, right. He's gone nuts, is what he's done. He sat in a cupboard somewhere, drenched in his own saliva, sweat, and jelly, rocking back and forth.
He's going to be 5 years older by the time he gets to my first appearance.
Yeah, rocking back and forth, screaming, "The dolls, mummy, why the dolls?" Anyway, he goes on to say, 100 episodes is a lot to get through, you have no idea, especially when they usually tip the scales at the 2-hour plus mark. Oh, he's already noticed. He says, I'm only 15 episodes in at the moment. Jesus Christ. What? He's listened to 15 episodes in 3 weeks.
He has done nothing but listen to the show.
From dawn till dusk. That's dedication for you. He says, but I have to say, it's been a while since I found a podcast that I enjoy as much as this one. I've been trying to put my finger on what it is that I like about it. A lot of it is the enthusiasm. You like some utter crap, but you talk about it with a real appreciation for the finer points of crap. There's no snark or irony, just a genuine love for these crazies who manage to scrape some cash together and put something on film against all odds. Even if the end result is not what you'd necessarily call watchable, if there are good things in there to find, you'll find them and ramble on about them until I feel like I want to track the film down and see it for myself. Actually, what he did was he crossed out a line where he said, I ramble on about them until I feel like taking my own life with a hacksaw. He's crossed that out and he's written in, I want to track the film down and see it for myself, which takes some doing on email to cross out a line. But anyway, so he goes on to say, so here's to the next 100. Maybe I'll have caught up by then.
No.
No, not at all, Chris. But thanks ever so much for writing in. Really glad to hear from a new listener, and really glad to know that even 100 episodes in deep, we're still encouraging people to listen to our show and check out films mentioned on the show. So that's great. And I will be putting a link up to Chris's movies, little animations, on the podcast page, so check out that. Then we got a quick email from none other than acting legend, powerhouse of the Baltimore area. What up, Baltimore peeps? George Stover. And he writes, congratulations, John, and may you have 100 more very soon. Best, George. So that's wonderful to get an email from George Stover. Lee Doll, also from Baltimore. What up, the Baltimore peeps? He's a film director who makes the Luana Lee series and the Fixer films, which we have covered on the show. He writes, hi, John. I think it is really amazing that you've completed 100 podcasts. Wow, that is quite an accomplishment. Keep on sending all the good times to everyone. All my best, Lee. Which is great. Thanks very much, Mr. Dahl. And lastly, before we go on to Maniac Cop 3, the guys from We Came From the Basement, Jason and Sean, our buddies in the Second Unit Podcast Network, if that's even still a thing.
What up, my Kamloops peeps?
What up, the guys are in Kamloops? What kind of a fucking town name is Kamloops? I've never said it.
I love it.
But it's totally nuts. It's just, yeah. Anyway, they write, Happy 100, mofo, because they're still stuck in 1994. Bless them, up in Canada. They still don't have colour televisions. Especially like Kamloops. Anyway, sorry. I'm totally kidding, Jason and Sean.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, I'm about to read your email. It says, congrats on surviving... I can't go on.
You know what the best thing about this is that I have been drinking pretty much since we started the episode. So I have a very good buzz going on at this point.
Good.
And I can't stop. I can't stop laughing at this point.
It's fantastic because I think this podcast has broken me. I honestly,
it is 100th and the last podcast.
And the last episode. They say, congrats on surviving to the big 100. That's a hell of an achievement for any show, be it TV, radio, or podcast. It's been great getting to know and work with you these last couple of years, and cheers to many more successes in the future. You are always welcome in the basement in a non-creepy, perverted kind of way, of course. Keep up the good work. Your friends from the land of ice and snow, Jason and Sean, also known as the Basement Boys. So thank you very much, Jason. Jason Sean, and if you are in the vicinity of the Second Unit podcast page, why would you be?
Right.
Why would you be? But if you are, please do check out We Came From the Basement. It's a fantastic podcast and well worth some of your time at the very least. Please do check it out. Glowing endorsement from the After Movie Diner. But quickly, we had a bit of a conversation with Gary Hill on the website about Maniac Cop 3. This was on the Facebook page. He says, I remember disliking Maniac Cop 3 very much. To which I said, you mean Bride of Maniac Cop? Rewatching now. He says, oh yeah, such a weird, unnecessary turn in the series. I will have to go back and watch before I listen to your show. Also, our friend Sloan McDonald said, sweet, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on these. Hopefully he's listening to this and he's like, I am hearing your thoughts on these. It's not so sweet after all, is it, Sloan? But yes, on to Maniac Cop 3, and let's whip through this one.
When the violent...
This filthy creep's gonna make us rich.
...can't be controlled. When the guilty can't be caught. When the lawless can't be stopped.
Drop the gun!
The only hope left...
I saw a symbol in the dirt.
You see the symbol of anti-justice. ...is a cop.
I survey.
...who's ready to raise... a little hell.
I need your very special kind of darkness.
From the darkest powers of creation.
Want to know about resurrection?
Comes a force more powerful than light. More lasting than death.
Nurse!
He has returned.
Who's in there?
As judge, jury, and executioner.
Oh my God.
I know what I saw.
To enforce the law.
Where is he? You'll find him.
With a vengeance. But now, the only way to end the massacre is to destroy
two tortured souls.
The madness.
Finish it.
Badge of silence. The Maniac Cop is back.
Basically, Maniac Cop 3, it's all about voodoo. Maniac Cop gets risen from the grave yet again through the power of stabbing a man's head.
Julius Harris.
Yes, by Julius Harris.
Who plays the great, what was his name? Mr. Sumatra in the Full Moon classic Shrunken Heads.
Yes, he does. I'm taking that as read as I've never seen Shrunken Heads, but
it
yes.
Totally is 100% accurate.
It's totally him. Great. And Robert Davi is sort of the brotherly friend to Maniac Kate, because she herself is a bit of a loose cannon, bit of a dirty Harriet, if you like. Has been going around. So there's this whole other subplot about her. She goes into a drugstore at night. Jackie Earle Haley is going mental, taking bunches of drugs, takes a woman hostage. The dirty Harriet climbs up on the roof, goes through the skylight, drops down, shoots Jackie Earle Haley, only to find out that the hostage is taken, double-crosses her, and says, wait a minute, I let him in, and really I'm a bad guy too. And she goes to shoot her, but then she shoots her instead, and everyone ends up in hospital. Cue what was Halloween 2, essentially, but for the Maniac Cop series, in a hospital,
Right.
complete with comedy cameos from Paul Gleason and Robert Forster, and Frank Pesci as a Frank Pesci, who plays the cameraman, the not the cameraman, the reporter dude for the news thing, who apparently is given free rein to just drive around New York and show up at crime scenes. And just obliterate crime scenes by... I mean, he literally films a cop shooting another person dead. Just happens to be around, absolutely fine. So yeah, lots of comedy cameos.
The best part is that he films somebody shooting. He films a cop shooting somebody dead, and then they show it on TV.
Yeah, edited so that it looks like the woman simply just shot both of them dead.
Right.
Yeah. So
no
all of a sudden, no accountability, because it's meant to be, I suppose, nodding towards the Rodney King trial, I guess. But it's meant to be that she, although she's brain dead, lying in a coma, is going to be indicted by internal investigations and all the rest of it, and blah blah blah.
Can't we all just get along?
I know, right? Meanwhile, Jackie Earle Haley is a lunatic, and he survived, more or less.
Another bearded lunatic.
And we also get something of a Die Hard reunion, because you get one single scene with Davi and his Detective Johnson sidekick from Die Hard, Grand L. Bush, who has just a great name.
Grand Bush is one of the greatest names in the history of great names.
It is. It's a fantastic name.
It'd be a better name on a woman, though.
It would be a better name on you.
That's true.
That's what I think.
I do have a Grand Bush.
You have quite the Grand Bush. Quite the Grand L Bush, in fact. Yes, you get him. Obviously, they play Johnson & Johnson in Die Hard. And you get Paul Gleason, who obviously plays the police guy in Die Hard. So all together again in this movie. So that's a good sort of pub trivia question if you're putting together a trivia night. Which other movie do 3 day players turn up in again that you've never seen? And everyone will be going, oh, that's clearly Maniac Cop 3.
In what movie does that guy, and that guy...
Yeah. I also want to take a quick moment to shout out Captain Dave, who cooked bacon and whistled our mailbag theme, videoed it, and then tweeted it to me today. What a legend. I don't know why I want to do that right now, but I did, just to get it out of the way to make sure I definitely did it. So the hijinks ensue, hospital nonsense, lots of weird deaths using X-ray machines and electric paddles. What are they called again?
A defibrillator.
Defibrillator paddles, that's it. And not much else, really.
That's actually one of my favorite deaths in the movie. You know, like he shocks the guy and he's like, oh, he gets him. But then he climbs up onto that metal thing and he shocks the metal thing. And then, of course, that shocks him. And then he defibrillators his face.
Right.
And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. Although the X-ray machine death is pretty great, too.
Yeah, I mean, he
just fries the dude's face.
Ties Robert Forster down. What I liked particularly is there's a great shot that goes out into the hallway where the X-ray sign is, and every time the X-ray sign lights up to say X-ray in use, you hear Robert Forster go, So you get like as Maniac Cop like walks down the road. It's great.
The sound is vaguely reminiscent of the beginning of the first Ghostbusters film, where he's doing the shock testing thing and he keeps shocking the guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's a true. I mean, this one plays the comedy up to the max.
There's a scene there's a part because most of this movie is skippable, but there's a really great scene towards the end where there's a car chase scene happening where yet again Maniac Cop is on fire into the car, which is brilliant.
Yes,
and the car door is off, so he's hanging out the side of the door, and a car comes up next to him, and he just pushes the car away.
Yeah,
and it's just like, it's such great timing to make it really look like he just pushed the car away.
And there's also
he does it like 3 times. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, while on fire. I mean, again, the whole end of this movie is him on fire, driving a car down a road, fighting with Davi and Caitlin Dulani, who plays Dr. Susan Fowler, who Davi has very quickly become romantically linked to throughout the course of the 60 minutes of this movie or whatever. And they're fighting in an ambulance, and she gets to say the great line where she just goes, "Make it stop, I don't like it anymore," which is a great line, because you never hear that in movies, do you? No. Like, most people, like, they're in the middle of an action sequence and they're just like, "Yeah, I'm handling the action," and she's just like, "I don't like it anymore, make it stop." I feel like maybe that was actual audio that was captured on set while they were doing the stuff.
That's funny.
But so anyway, his arm gets lopped off. Maniac Cop's arm gets lopped off in the course of the car chase as well, which allows Davi later to
light a cigarette with the flaming arm.
Light a cigarette with the Maniac Cop's flaming arm, which is where I think at this point the series really jumps the shark.
Well, thankfully it waited till the end of the 3rd film to do it, but
right. And there's this whole other subplot where
thoroughly ridiculous.
So there's this whole other subplot where the Maniac Cop somehow knows about the female cops shooting, although there's no indication of how he knows or why he would know or what connection they have mentally.
No. There is a reason. Remember, he hears about it on the radio at the beginning of the movie. He hears about Kate,
except he doesn't hear like what she looks like or what hospital she's gone to.
That's true. That's 100% true. But what he does hear is her being referred to as Maniac Kate.
Right.
And him knowing that he's Maniac Cop, that Maniac Kate is obviously his soulmate.
Right. Maniac Kate is obviously his mate. Anyway, he goes to hospital to basically get her back. Get her. And there's a wonderful scene where she's in a coma but manages to wake up from that coma because he happens to be in the room. They psychically link. She has a really weird dream sequence about their wedding, which is hilarious. And then the doctor comes, Robert Davi goes, quick, she grabbed my hand and her eyes open. The doctor goes in, looks at the machine and goes, "Well, it's not doing anything now." And you're like, what's the point of a hospital machine if it's not constantly monitoring her?
Right.
Anyway, very cool. The best scene in the whole movie, though, is Gleason versus Forster. That's my favorite scene in the whole film.
Yeah, there's like that Aaron Sorkin scene of following them, the Sorkin-esque, I should say, scene of the two of them walking side by side and talking.
Well, Forster is walking around the emergency room where there are generally people with bleeding wounds everywhere, and he's all like, "Come on, stitch that guy up, give him some soda pentothal, whatever."
Yeah.
What's sodium pentothal? Sodium pentothal's like lying, isn't that what
That's
you
truth
give
serum,
truth serum? Yeah. Give that guy some truth serum.
Find out how he got cut.
I don't mean that, but you know what I mean. Like, give him some aspirin or whatever.
No, he spouts off a bunch of
medical jargon while walking around a bunch of bleeding people.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious. It's the best performance he's ever given.
It's
hands down.
It's the best comedic performance I've ever seen him give. I think my favorite performance of his might be. I loved him in Jackie Brown. I think Jackie Brown might be my favorite performance of his. But this is the funniest I've ever seen him. Without a doubt.
He's amazing in Jackie Brown. He's good in Vigilante as well.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But yeah, really, really good in this. Anything else to say about part 3? It seems okay. It seems to be filmed a lot better. I don't know whether it's just because the DVD I watched this on happened to be in widescreen, but it seems to just be directed a lot better. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah, I can see that without a doubt.
Just and what's odd is that Lustig walked off set of this movie and it was finished by the assistant director.
Huh.
Although Lustig still gets the majority of the credit, so I can only assume under the guidelines of the DGA that he did direct most of this. Otherwise, he couldn't claim. And there's no article online that tells me why he walked off set. He was just, I've had enough.
He probably just threw down his gloves and said, "You know what? I'm done with this shit."
Right, exactly.
How many times can we tell the same fucking story about this fucking maniac cop?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it was finished by someone else. Also, I don't understand why it's called Badge of Silence when Bride of Maniac Cop would be so much more apt.
Right.
Joel Soyson or Joel Soyson or something finished the direction of this movie.
So I'm looking at the ratings, the general ratings on it on IMDb, and I mean none of them are good, but the first one has like a 5.8 out of 10, which is for a horror film not that bad.
But I would give it more a 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 7 or 8 myself. Yeah, and then the second one, which I'd probably give an 8 to, it has a 5.4, and then the third one it's a huge bump down to a 4.4. And it's but that kind of makes sense. Yeah, why is it called Badge of Silence?
Yeah, because you have the right to remain silent forever twice as your tagline.
Right.
Or you've also had the wrong arm of the law, which I quite like. But you've not. Why not just Bride of Maniac Cop?
Yeah.
Or Brideiac Cop. Or Maniac Kate.
Badge of Love.
Badge of Love. I love it. And of course, it has an ending which, indicates that the two zombie cops are in love.
Right.
Which I think is beautiful and very, very deep and meaningful. It's almost like the ending of Dr. Zhivago. It's that powerful.
It's a classic love story for the ages.
It is a classic love story for the ages. Just not sure which ages, but when we find out, the Middle Ages maybe.
I was just kind of happy it was over.
I have to say, I like the way the third one looks. I think Davi is just as good in the third one, if not more. I don't have a problem with the plot changes.
No.
Because, what are you talking about? Oh, well, this is out of the storyline or whatever, blah, 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 blah. All of the storylines are all over the place in all three films. So it is what it is. I love the scene with Forster and Gleason. I like some of the kills. They're very inventive. And I love the ending fight with the car and the flames and all that.
Yeah. The third act in this one saves it. I was on the verge of just passing out by the time the third act rolls around, and then you have that awesome on fire car chase. And basically the thing that the Maniac Cop, well, especially the second and third one, do better than I've seen any other movie do ever is having a guy on fire for a long period of time. I mean, just fantastic.
Also, I know they're all B movies, and I know they're all, to a lot of people who watch them, sort of low ratings, although I would give them all sort of a 6 or a 7, to be honest, personally. They are consistent. There's not one really. I mean, I know people point to the third, but there's not one where you watch it and you go, "Oh my God, they're the worst pile of shit ever." You know what I mean?
No. I think the third one, for the most part, I mean, has the weakest second act out of any of the movies. But I think
it doesn't have a rap.
It doesn't have a rap. You know,
it's got that going for it.
No, but I think out of any of the movies, I mean, sure, it's the weakest, but it's the weakest by maybe half a point rating. It's not. Right. It's not so bad that, like, if we gave the other ones an 8, I'd give this one a 7.5. I mean, it's not that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Good call. Okay, excellent. Well, hopefully we've done the Maniac Cop series a justice. If we haven't, I don't care.
Right.
We've talked about lots of good things. We've had lots of laughs. We've got a couple more emails to read, and then it's bye-bye from us. And the 100th episode of the After Movie Diner. My good friend Jonesy writes, "My dearest After Movie Diner." You know my name's John. That's really weird. Anyway, he says, "Happiest 100th episode, you magnificent bearded super bastard. It's hard to believe that 100 episodes have been created, literally giving people hundreds of hours of entertainment. Try thousands. I, for one, have been so thankful of being able to listen to this wonderful show. I had to write a quick email of congratulations, and I'm sure I speak for every single person who has been lucky enough to have an appearance at the diner when I say, give me my money back. No, he says, when I say, thank you, and here's to the steady march to episode 1000. Your eternal buddy, Jonesy, keeper of the beard." Well, thanks ever so much, Jonesy. Great email. Thank you very much for all the nice, kind, wonderful words, none of which are deserved, but thank you nonetheless. And then Richard, his email is Richard Lefebvre, but his name at the bottom of the email is Rick Peter Peters, who I like to call Rick the Peter Peters, just to add an extra Peter to his name.
Give him a triple phallic name.
He's a triple Peter, as I like to think about him. He writes, "I started listening to The Diner earlier this year. I still haven't regained consciousness. No, I haven't regained the feeling to my low."
I started listening to the show earlier this year, and I'm about done with the first episode.
And I still can't feel my thighs. No, he says, "I started listening to The Diner earlier this year. I was looking for a new movie podcast, and the name grabbed my attention. As an avid Seagal fan, the first episode I listened to was the Hard to Kill commentary. That episode did two things. One, put me in a coma. No, one, it entered the diner into my regular podcast rotation. And two, it steered me towards the wonderful Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid commentaries. I appreciate the knowledge and practical film opinions expressed in the diner. Keep it up. P.S. I've been listening to podcasts for 40 years, Johnny." You've been listening to my podcast for 40 years because all the episodes are very long. Have we made that gag yet, this episode?
No. Just 3 or 4 times.
Good. Excellent. Splendid. Well, thank you very much, Rick the Peter Peters. Please do continue to listen and write in, even if I do use inverted commas when I say the Peter in your name. Right, Klaus, we've got 2 more voicemails. Let's put them on now. Come on, Klaus. Klaus? Klaus? Where on earth is that hunchback quiz thing? Klaus! Klaus! There's one thing I hate, it's having to put voicemails on myself. I don't know why I keep this little cross-eyed fool about, but that's his one job. Fine. Where's the button? What's the thing? What am I going to do now? Oh, for goodness sake. God, I just want to end this episode. Ugh. What does this do?
What's up, AMD? Congratulations on your 100th show. Wow, that's a lot of shows. And you have been through a lot of movies. It's very awesome to see a podcast get to the 100th show. And here's to 100 more from all of us here at Zombie Response Team. Keep on keeping on.
It's a message from Dr. Action.
Happy 100th birthday to the After Movie Diner. 100 episodes, that's quite incredible. And I've had the pleasure I've been on a few of them. It's Dr. Action here. I'd just like to wish everybody at the diner happy 100 episodes. I'm very pleased that you're doing the Maniac Cop trilogy to mark this grand, magnificent, wonderful occasion. 3 of my favourite films about a maniac cop. I'd just like to say well done, and long may it continue. Here's to another 100, 200, 300, carry on going as long as you want, because I'll be listening as always. Well done, sir. Congratulations.
And lastly, a guy who we still talk occasionally on Twitter, but who wrote to the diner very early on in its existence, and that is Mr. David Brighton, or Icklebell as he goes by on Twitter. And he wrote now, for the first time in years, you really should write more often, David. He says, congratulations on the 100th installment, keeping us more entertained than ever before, although the rumoured Adam Sandler marathon episode has me slightly concerned. That is really just a rumour. I don't know who put that about. Nothing to do with me. He said, it's been fun. Here's to 100 more. One of those should be dedicated to 2012. It's a misunderstood comic masterpiece. I'll go and boil my head now. David Brighton. Icklebell gone. And I believe that rounds out our 100th episode as the last email that I'm reading live. Of course, there will be other emails and messages and voicemails and things like that played throughout the show. But that is the last live one. Mo, did you have any words, sir, before we wrap this up?
Yes. Periwinkle, tumultuous, and gonorrhea.
That's it from us! Bye!
Think you have what it takes to survive the zombie apocalypse? Find out by listening to the Zombie Response Team podcast. Catch up or stay current at zombieresponseteam.net/podcast. Stay safe by staying prepared.
There are still 6 days to apply to win a special copy of The Conjuring on Blu-ray over at aftermoviediner.blogspot.com. Go there, click on the banner ad, and enter to win a free Blu-ray of The Conjuring. Just for this Halloween. Like the show? Well, you can find our complete podcast archive over at amdpodcast.blogspot.com or aftermoviediner.com. You can send us an email at aftermoviediner@gmail.com, tweet us at aftermoviediner, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/aftermoviediner. Or why not be a part of the show and leave us a voicemail over at speakpipe.com/aftermoviediner. You can also support the show a number of ways by spreading the word to family, friends and co-workers, by writing us a review over at iTunes or TalkShoe, by purchasing some excellent diner merchandise over at cafepress.com/aftermoviediner, by donating on our website, by advertising with our website, or maybe you're a regular Amazon user. If so, then before you make a purchase, go to amdpodcast.blogspot.com, aftermoviediner.blogspot.com, or aftermoviediner.com and click through the Amazon banner ads. It costs you nothing extra, but they throw us a few coins for the trouble. Or, like the movies we cover, then buy them over at our personal Amazon store, also on amdpodcast.blogspot.com. Really, thanks everybody for everything you continue to do, and please keep listening.
Something sneaking around the corner. Here we come. I think it's the Maniac. Hold up.
You better watch out when you hear that sound. It means that the Maniac cop's around. Once upon a time, he was a super cop, but the bad guys wrangled to make him stop. Put him in prison where they tried to kill him, but he broke out, now he's the villain. Bullets won't hurt him, I know it sounds like jive, but when I sure if he's dead or alive.
Set him on fire, I shoot him with an Uzi, but he'll show up in your jacuzzi. You can run him over, you can feed him poison, push him out a window and it only annoys him. You better believe me if they think I'm lying. When he show up, people start dying. He's out for vengeance and he can't be stopped. That's why they call him the Maniac Cop.
You have the right to remain silent.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and Bloodbaths and Boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell. Who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?